My friend banned me from her bridal weekend.
Doesn't sound like she's your friend.
The bride and I have been on and off friends since high school. There were times where we would talk all the time and be super close, but she would repeatedly shut people out of her life when she was going through things and cut you off for a few months before talking again. By the way, this comes from user Gold Coffee. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I'm Dakota.
I'm Riley.
And I'm Keon.
And we're here to give you good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we would do. So if you would do something different, let us know in the comments, as OP says. I reconnected with her after college and would go out on double dates with both of our boyfriends every few months. We would always make Snapchat videos talking about our day and confide in each other through Snapchat, kind of like a delayed phone call. But the videos got kind of out of hand. Both of us would record so many talking about if we had a bad day or something like that, and both of us would get to them later when we had the time, days or sometimes weeks later, and respond with more videos. I feel like I was always there for her. She would send me hours of videos talking about her ex, drama at work, family drama, etc., and I would respond with videos back showing sympathy and acknowledging her feeling. My friend said I was the only friend that called her up on the phone to wish her congratulations after her engagement, while other friends only texted. While we were close, she asked me to be her bridesmaid while I was at her house celebrating her birthday, and I agreed without thinking about it twice. We continued our usual Snapchat communications. Once, I had a bad day and sent a lot of videos. She didn't view or answer them for weeks, then texted me lying, saying that she deleted Snapchat for privacy reasons. I tried to ask her to call on the phone when she had the chance, but she ignored my text for hours and said she was busy. I felt pretty slighted considering I had listened to so many of her videos complaining constantly and was always there for her. When it was my turn to vent, she went cold turkey. After this, we didn't speak for about a month. Later on, she called me with some lie about how she deleted Snapchat for privacy reasons, and I knew she was Snapchatting other people because her Snapchat score continued to go up all the time. I told my friend, listen, you can be real with me. These videos were out of hand. Maybe we should just talk on the phone once in a while instead, meet up for dinner, or meet up to go for a walk once in a while, and cut the Snapchat. She insisted that it was for privacy reasons, but that she'd want to continue to start up our Snapchats again. I said I think it would be best not to and to change how we communicate. After this, we really lost touch and haven't spoken in like 6 months now. I'm still her bridesmaid and have gone on with the process of buying my dress and going to the bridal shower and party. Her other 3 bridesmaids are her cousin and a group of 2 girl best friends she has known longer than me. They all went to elementary school together. They're a group of 3, but she is closest to one girl, Paula. We went to stay 2 overnights down the shore for the weekend for her bridal party. We were all having fun Friday night. I talked a lot to Paula and really bonded with her, trying to be more included and pushing myself to get along with these girls and get to know them a bit more before the wedding. We had a great time all dancing and drinking at the bar. She's gossiped about the other bridesmaid very often, as well as gossiped about her cousin. Throughout the weekend, I saw her complaining so much about her cousin, who is the maid of honor to Paula. I thought her complaints were out of hand, as to me it seemed her cousin was so sweet, had planned the whole weekend, and really did a lot for the bride. On Saturday at the beach, my hands started to get a rash that at first I thought was mosquito bites. We all thought I had mosquito bites until they continued to get worse. The bride is a nurse, and when she looked at my hand, she told me she thinks I have hand, foot, and mouth disease. I had a fever a few days prior to the bridal party, but my fever broke, and I felt better prior to leaving for the party. This rash from the virus had started to come out before I knew, and while I was already there with them. I expressed that I would use a separate bar of soap, separate towel, and wear flip-flops in the house, and avoid touching things to not spread this rash to someone else. The bride said, no worries at all. This is no big deal. I'm not concerned. Just use a separate towel. She was totally okay with it. Afterwards, she told Paula in a very condescending way that I have this rash. Paula kind of freaked out and got nervous. The 2 of them sat there texting, probably to each other, about me, And all of a sudden, the bride said to me, I think you should leave. Can you get a ride home? To be fair, though, that's what she probably just should have said from the beginning. If you have a highly contagious rash, yeah, I don't know if you should be around us in the communal space. You know?
I didn't know we were watching the movie Mean Girls or the musical, but it's not a musical because I haven't heard any singing. Unless it just, in that world, just happens and it's a normal thing. Like all musicals.
Yeah, that's my favorite part of Mean Girls, the musical, is when everyone gets hand, foot, and mouth disease.
Yeah, when Renee Rapp just gets all diseases all over.
I actually enjoyed the musical, the movie.
I got a bit defensive and said in front of both of them, you would never ask Paula to leave, and I'm the odd one out here. Me and the bride talked things over and made up. I expressed that I did not want to leave and had already paid the Airbnb price to stay, and it was a very far ride to ask my boyfriend to come all this way to pick me up, and it was only one more night. I expressed to her I'd be extremely careful and take precautions not to spread the rash to anyone else. She went back and forth saying it's totally fine, like I'm not worried, just use your own towel and soap, to then being annoying and saying she doesn't want a rash for her wedding, which was still 2 months away, and storming out. We spent the rest of the time continuing on with dinner and morning breakfast as normal, with me just maintaining a distance and not touching things or others. We left on good terms. I just still feel slighted about her asking me to leave. It felt like a slap to the face to confirm me already feeling so left out all this time, like I'm the most unimportant person in her line and someone she doesn't care if I'm not there. I also see it from her side, how it's always concerning not wanting to catch a sickness or virus, and how it really could have put a damper on her bridal party. My plan is to continue on with the wedding and stay her bridesmaid, but not reach out much or try to stay friends with her afterwards. She's been so hot and cold too many times and hurt me too many times for me to continue. I can also see things from her side, though. Be totally honest and let me know if I've been the a-hole too. And there are some comments, but before we get into them, what do we think? You know?
Dude, she's just a mean girl and she likes to have someone around to poke fun at. You're the what do you call the guy that juggles in front of the king?
The jester. I don't know.
It's what it is.
I would be just more concerned about all the other behaviors you talked about. The thing with the rash is like kind of understandable. Okay. You got a highly contagious disease.
Sure, it's understandable, but the way she went about it, though?
Yeah, the way she went about it, I think just illuminates, like, where you stand, and that she's also full of it. Like, she just told you, oh, yeah, no, blah, yeah, you're totally fine. And then just, like, flip-flop. No, you're not. Yes, you are. No, you're not. Yes, you are.
Pick a lane.
If it's me, I'm leaving. You know? I have a contagious rash. I'm with, like, 4 other people
that I got from children
staying in the same place.
Guys.
Oh, you did?
Sharing is caring.
I think don't share your hand, foot, and mouth disease.
Yeah, don't share a lot of things, my dude. What are you sharing back there, Keon?
I think you're...
Wouldn't you like to know, boy?
You're on the right path, though. I think you should pull away from this friendship. I don't think it's equal. I don't think it's really doing anything for you. You just seem like you're the emotional bucket for her to dump all her stuff into.
I feel like a good way to kind of gauge if you like a friendship is whenever you come away from hanging out with them. How do you feel? How do you feel inside?
How you feel? How you feel? How you feel?
Are you burning with passion about life? Or did you just get sucked out of life?
Hand, foot, and mouth is incredibly contagious. It's not personal that they weren't comfortable being around you. A reply says, yeah, but it was already too late for them, having been in contact with her all weekend. Another reply says, OP is an a-hole for making excuses to not leave because she wanted to stay. She's sick and should leave, and that's it. Reply says, the friends are a-holes too. Go, stay, we don't care. Now we do. Make up your mind already. Another comment says, not that this is an am I the a-hole, but I think this is an everyone sucks here, and you're taking things way too personally. I don't think the bride made up a disease just to get you out, because why would she do that? I think the bride, as a nurse, is so used to being around contagious illnesses that at first she didn't care about you still being there without talking to the rest of the party members first, which is where she sucks too. She doesn't get to make decisions regarding other people's health. Once they heard what you may have had and rightfully freaked out about being exposed to it, I think she backpedaled because the other girls were upset about being exposed. I don't think it was a personal attack against you, but you really should have left if you thought you had something contagious. which is where you suck here. As someone who works with children, hand, foot, and mouth is extremely contagious, and it sucks. Adults can absolutely get it too, but it's awful for children. Maybe the bridal party members had children at home and didn't want to take it home with them. I get you already paid for your stay, but if you thought you had a contagious disease, the responsible thing to do was to leave. Instead, you insisted on staying and made her out to be the bridezilla who was personally attacking you. And that's not cool. But you know what is cool?
What, Dakota?
The fact that we have full episodes with stories like this on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Holy moly.
Just search OK Story Time, and you can listen to your heart's content. We have a little bit more story left here, but I kind of agree with those comments.
Really?
At least in that one context. But given the whole context of the Snapchat stuff, where it's like,
yeah,
you're being there for her, emotionally supporting her, and she just like disappears when you are looking for that same thing, like, doesn't feel like the friendship is equitable.
Look, I think your boyfriend could have definitely picked you up whenever you had the, HMFD. But like, and it's something that doesn't always happen. And I feel like you should have people pick you up whenever things that don't always happen. And that's the only thing you've done wrong here. Other than that, drop the friend, dude. If my friend, my friend got hand, foot, and mouth disease, one, I'm going to laugh at him because only kids get that. And that's not a real thing. And then two, I'm going to make sure they're okay. I'm going to be like, dude, like, what do you need? Some, like, hand cream, foot cream, mouth cream? I got you. I can go ahead and make you some mouth cream right now.
Please
but
don't.
I'll go to the store and buy you the other creams.
Make you some mouth cream right now is one of the wildest things you've said on this show.
Chat, I just
hands
realized
down.
what's going down right now. Look what's going on.
Dude, I am going to be playing basketball. That's crazy.
That's you. You're Ben Affleck. You're Silent Bob. That means I'm Jay.
I can't be Silent Bob. I talk too much.
I know.
But that's why it's called Silent Bob.
Because he doesn't talk.
He doesn't talk.
Oh, but that looks like you though.
That's crazy.
We should get John in a headband in a toboggan, and then he definitely would be that dude.
Well, we need to clean shave John though.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. But
Riley corner now.
why are you here? Let me be me. Anyways,
Your girlfriend has banished you to the corner.
Ah,
I think you should stand up and stand in that corner in the wide shot.
that would be so funny. Yeah, these aren't your friends. But how does this happen? How does it end, my friend?
Yeah, there's the last update. Let's finish it. It's been over a week, and none of the other girls caught hand, foot, and mouth. That, honestly, was my thought, that I had already been through a fever that cleared, and I didn't think it was that contagious, even though the bumps didn't come out until later. All my bumps are gone now, too, and that's the end of the story.
I want to demote my maid of honor to being a guest because I can't feel her supports. For context, myself, female 31, my matron of honor, female 33, Kara, and my maid of honor, female 30, Jessie, are all bi. Kara and I both fell in love with men, and they are our forever partners. By the way, this comes from Sassy Potato 99. If you want to submit your own stories, go to r/OK Storytime subreddit. So Jessie fell in love with a female 33, Naomi, and that is her forever partner. We all grew up in Christian homes because of this. Kara and I have chosen to stay pretty closeted about our spicy sleepuality. Since we are with men, we don't feel like the potential relationship rupture with our parents is worth it. However, Jessie had to come out to her parents, and she is going to be marrying a woman. Both Jessie and Naomi's families have not taken the news well, and that has caused a significant break in their relationships. I feel like this information is important due to some of the issues I am struggling with. This is about my maid of honor, Jessie, not my matron of honor. I think my maid of honor does not support my relationship, and there have been some actions that have caused hurt. I'm not saying that I have not potentially caused her hurt because we have not talked enough for me to know, and she probably doesn't know about my hurt. I know that I have to talk to her, but I am emotional and I need to process before I do anything I may later regret. But this is something I can't talk about with my friends because they are all familiar with each other, and my fiance doesn't like my maid of honor. There's a lot of issues. I met my fiance, Mike, male 33. I was just finishing grad school and was looking for jobs in my field, psychotherapy, due to it being a global pandemic. When we first started dating, We did a lot of hanging out and watching movies. I also just got a job as a therapist. I've been working full-time since I got my concussion in 2018. I was exhausted after work. In the first 6 months or so of our relationship, we really didn't go out for dates. We mostly stayed in. Jessie, who was my roommate at the time, once told me as she was heading out the door for work and Mike was over to hang out that she believes that this is not the kind of relationship that I want, that I would rather want to go out and go on dates, not hide away. To hear her lack of support when I found someone I really cared about crushed me. Mike came over to me sobbing and telling him what Jessie, my best friend and roommate, said, totally invalidating that relationship. Doesn't make any sense. Had no issues with having so many dates, just hanging out as I was often emotionally exhausted after work. I work with mostly traumatized children and really didn't feel like dressing up to go out. Not going to lie, during the work week, I am still emotionally and physically drained and want to stay home. Side note, this happened a lot where she tells me her opinion of what I want and it is not actually what I want at all. Sounds like Jessie is speaking for you or the intentions that I have, and it is not at all what I would do or would plan to do. One time, in front of a group of friends, she announced that she believed I needed male validation too much. I had been single for almost 10 years, was afraid to date because my ex-boyfriend was extremely and I didn't trust myself to find a partner that would treat me right, as I missed the red flags before. I also spent time with 2 guy friends who I had zero interest in dating and was starting to spend less time with and grew apart from, as her values were becoming drastically different. When my current roommate, Martha, moved in, she was fleeing a domestic violent relationship, and Jessie was moving in with Naomi. So Martha was going to take Jessie's room. Martha packed and moved her stuff while her partner was at work, and then told them she was leaving when they got home to partially empty the house. The plan was Martha would drive with Jessie to Naomi's house in a different province to be away for 2 weeks. This way, Martha could get a clean break and not be concerned about her safety for the initial move out. When Martha came over after telling her partner that she was leaving, I asked if while she was away, she would like me to move her boxes into the rooms that were labeled for kitchen office, and she said no, that would be fine. Jessie then says, and you shouldn't unpack her things for her while she's away. You should let her do that herself. I was like, what the F? I responded with, I would never do that. It's an invasion of privacy, and I don't know how she is going to want her space set up. Just responded, it kind of is something you would do to try to be helpful. Okay, yes, I suggested we would make Martha's bed so that she wouldn't have to worry about it when she got here, but she had brought brand new sheets and they were sitting on the bed. That's why I suggested it. I don't know. I feel like that's nice.
These are good things.
These are good. Like, I don't know why we're crucifying people for doing good things.
What universe is this bad?
If the sheets had been packed in a box, I wouldn't have suggested it because I wouldn't have to go through her stuff to find them. Mike's family came to Canada from the Middle East in the 1990s. They tended to spend a lot of time with family only or other families from the same area of the Middle East. With this, the first time Mike spent any tour of time with them, queer people, was when he started dating me, as the majority of my friends are part of the rainbow community. He had very little knowledge about what it looked like to be not straight and cis in our society, but as this is something that affects me and my loved ones, he was willing/wanting to learn. I told Jessie about all the conversations that I was having with Mike about and gender, as he has no experience with it, and was asking questions. The response was, well, if he doesn't care to learn on his own, then he doesn't care.
But he does care.
He's literally caring.
He's asking.
I was taken aback as Mike had zero knowledge of the queer community before meeting me, and he wouldn't base that stance on his family. I felt that him asking questions was a great place to start for someone who was new to this topic. He's actually started advocating for the rainbow community within his own family, which was something I was impressed with. Because from his experience, that can be hard. In April 2023, Jessie and Naomi were visiting myself, Martha, and other friends that live in our province. And one day while we were out, Jessie states, when Mike falls into eternal sleep, you love in with another man, I'm going to be so pissed at you. Okay, one, not okay to talk about the eternal sleep of a loved one, even as a joke. And two, Mike has a degenerative condition. And if we can't go to another country to get treatment, or the treatment doesn't get approved in Canada, he's going to fall into eternal sleep for me. I can't think about that too much, or else I have an existential crisis. Yeah, I can imagine. We spent a lot of time following the current research on this condition to see what progress is being made in treatment options. Jessie knows this. And three, I cannot control who I fall in love with. My response was, why are we talking about Mike's eternal sleep? The conversation was dropped from there. Since Jesse moved out and in with Naomi, there's been a serious lack of communication between us. I will admit I'm at fault as well. When she came to visit in 2023, she apologized for being so distant and that she loved me and still saw me as a sister. I also apologized about not being good at communication and said we should work on it. The distance seemed to get worse over time, and whenever I talk with her, she would only talk about her life and never ask questions about mine, or would just lose interest in the conversation when I would talk about things in my life, especially Mike. I am the one always reaching out first, and it will sometimes take her weeks to respond to my messages, and conversations will last maybe 30 minutes. In August 2024, Mike and I got engaged.
Uh-oh.
Jesse's gonna be pissed.
She ain't gonna like that.
Jessie was one of the first people I told, and she seemed genuinely excited for me. All right, great. I was on the fence about asking her to be my maid of honor. I even asked if it was something that she would still be up for, or would she rather be a bridesmaid? She told me she was, and I decided to have a matron of honor as well, who lives close to me. Then Jessie wouldn't have to worry about trying to execute things from a different province. Her job would basically be to provide emotional support and show up. In October 2024, Naomi proposed to Jessie.
Oh.
Do you have an ICU, John?
I do have an ICU.
What's your ICU?
They're going to be like, we're getting married
On your wedding day.
on your wedding day, and we're taking all of your wedding people, your maids, your matrons.
We're taking it all.
All the
We're taking it all.
Give it all to me.
Oh my God.
Oh, God.
Jessie texted me soon after and I celebrated with her. I was happy for her and Naomi. They chose that they wouldn't officially become engaged until Jessie proposed to Naomi. But after Naomi proposed, Jessie became more distant and less enthusiastic about me in general. I get that she was now planning her own engagements. I also assume her parents were not happy for them and that it caused more damage to their relationship. I can't imagine what that would be like, especially since my parents are so involved with my wedding. My dad is performing the ceremony. I have been thinking that it could be hard for her to watch my parents and Mike's mom be involved in our wedding and be happy for us. So Jessie isn't responding to messages. I just looked and I have a message to her sitting as delivered from early December. Jessie and Martha, my current roommate, talk multiple times a week. If I walk into the room and Jessie's on the phone or on video call, I will say hi and be happy. Jessie will be like, oh, hey, and will hardly say anything or not engage in conversation at all. I've gotten to the point where I'm basically saying hi and trying to get out of the room as soon as possible. If they are having a call in the living room and I need to go to the kitchen, I have to walk through the room. What has brought me to the consideration to demote her to guest rather than bridesmaid, because she's literally not talking to you,
Yeah.
is everything mentioned above plus things that I haven't mentioned. Also, Jessie proposed to Naomi last weekend and Jessie has not told OP yet. The only reason why I know that it happened was because Martha was involved in the proposal. So it means Jessie and Naomi are officially engaged. And if my roommate wasn't involved in the proposal, I would have no idea. I am expecting a message from Jessie telling me that she's hurt. I haven't congratulated her yet, but when she hasn't officially told me, and she has done this historically. By the way, you can listen to us at any point throughout history. If you go to our podcast, you can listen to full episodes with stories just like this. Go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app and search OK Storytime. There's another relevant update, but John, what do you think of this friend? This friend sounds like absolute bananas.
I mean, honestly, it might be at the point where you sit down and you're like, hey, look, all of this stuff is happening. I feel like very disrespected by everything you said. I don't know. I feel like if OP looks herself in the mirror, she'd probably be like, I don't know that this friendship is doing anything for either of us at this point.
I think opening up that conversation and
Yeah.
saying exactly what John said, and maybe it gets better. I'm struggling with this due to the fact that I have known Jessie for so long and have imagined being my maid of honor. I also think I am holding on to a relationship that doesn't exist anymore with some of the comments that she has made. I don't think she supports my relationship. So why would I have someone who doesn't support my relationship stand by me? Again, obviously we need to talk and we need to have a real conversation. I'm just hoping for an outside perspective to see if I am just too caught up in my feelings to make a good choice. So would I be the a-hole for demoting her to guest?
I don't even think you'd be the a-hole for ending the friendship, because it just seems like it's gone closer and closer and closer and closer and closer to that place. And there's got to be a point where it's like, hey, this ain't doing anything for either of us.
Yeah.
Let's just cut our
She's not
ties.
supporting you in your most important relationship.
Low key, do you feel, I would imagine being in OP's position, just having her at the wedding period feels a little bit of like a drain. I'm like, she's going to be here. She's been hating on my relationship the whole time. Why would I want her to celebrate it, uniting for a lifetime?
No, it's done nothing but just, I think she's done nothing but just been an absolute
Yeah.
My bridezilla sister secretly hates me.
She's a spy.
I'm almost 28 female and got married at the beginning of this year. Now my younger sister, Becky, 25 female, is getting married. And it's quickly made me realize I don't think we're as close as I thought. By the way, this comes from Dry Rain 64. If you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. We'll try to give our best advice, but we haven't experienced most of these situations ourselves. So if you have, please let us know in the comments below. So OP says, Becky lives 10 minutes away, and we've seen each other weekly. We have major life differences. My partner and I are queer, and she's highly conservative and active in high control religion. But I thought we were close. My only other sister, Grace, lives 8 hours away by plane and isn't mentally well. So for my wedding, after talking to Becky about this first, I made them co-maids of honor. As predicted, Becky was engaged with the wedding, and Grace just flew down for the wedding, was barely more than a guest, didn't notice or mind. Now Becky is getting married, and I'm realizing I think not only does she disagree with my lifestyle and choices, but I almost feel like she either dislikes me or is ashamed of me. At her engagement party, I met at least 2 people, one of whom Becky herself described as her mentor and spiritual mother, who, when asking me how I knew her, responded that they didn't know Becky had any siblings.
Wow, that's heartbreaking to learn. As like if I was meeting people that were supposedly important to my sibling and they didn't even know I existed.
Once is weird. Twice in a night made it clear my partner and I weren't welcome. Yeah, and this is going to be, if you have different, lifestyles and you're going into one lifestyle that's a little bit harsher on other lifestyles, there's gonna be a lot of resistance and tension.
Yeah.
For a wedding, she wants to pick out what I want to wear. Fine, normal enough. She gave me a list of like 165 dresses I could choose to buy from, except none of the dresses are in the same style or general color palette. It's so broad, it's almost like she just wanted to make sure I didn't wear anything that I normally wear, which isn't immodest in any way, but certainly isn't conservative trad wife, which her community prefers. At our wedding, we sent a color palette of 6 color options and let our wedding party wear whatever they felt great in. Becky was the only one who chose an outfit outside of those requested colors. In any other case, I'd be like, okay, she's the bride, whatever, except she's not asked me to be the maid of honor. She's not even asked me to be a bridesmaid. She told me she wanted to have me in the official bridal party, but anything she'd do for me, she'd have to do for Grace, who she strongly dislikes, as she can be uncomfortable to be around due to her mental health illnesses. So instead of either assuming Grace won't want or be able to be involved as much, like she was at my wedding, she briefly mentioned that we'd be her flower girls.
Okay. Instead of being a part of the wedding party?
Yeah, I don't know.
This is her sister Becky saying you're just gonna be the flower girls, which is usually, I mean, everyone can have their own wedding things, but that's usually for kids.
And you probably have kids that are waiting in line for that spot.
There's probably little girls that really wanted that position.
Yeah, Angie never got picked to be a flower girl, and she's
Neither
pretty
did I.
upset about it.
I didn't have any family members that I was
Getting
close
married.
enough to get who were getting married. That didn't have closer, little
I see.
girls.
I know this is a fun trend recently to have older adults be flower people, but I am a history educator, and if you knew me, you'd know I'm not someone who'd strike you as being fun or cute to do that. I'm already struggling with feeling insulting and humiliating to make me and my mentally unwell older sister be flower girls. But the demand is also still go to all the events and have to buy a new dress that she controls is pushing me over the edge. I want to respect her as a person, sister, and bride, and ultimately, I'll honor her wishes. But I just can't help feel so belittled and disrespected and hurt. I am wondering if this is out of the ordinary enough to justify it feeling hard, or if this is just how weddings are, and I should continue to stuff it and carry on. We have an update. I think she's putting you there because she's ashamed.
Yeah. Well, I think that she has made it very clear that she doesn't support you as or your identity, which is really heartbreaking. And I feel like you can have a conversation with her and say, hey, feels pretty insulting, but it also might be a thing of limiting contact.
You don't have to be a part of this wedding too.
Yeah.
That's also
Yeah,
an
that's
option.
also it can be like, no, I'm gonna decline to be your flower girl, but maybe I'll go to the wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe the sister Becky's trying to play, oh, if I ask her to be the flower girl, she'll say no and she won't come, or she won't be
Yeah.
a part of the bridal party.
Maybe it's so insulting that she just won't even come. That sucks.
Okay. We have an update. Keon, what do you think she should do? Not go?
Easy. Yeah, not go.
Okay.
There's no point. Like, unfortunately, this is the bear,
The bear?
the bridezilla.
Oh.
Like like this is her den.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I say it all the time. Again, your wedding, your rules. If those rules and that person is just
Yeah.
draining, there's no reason to be in that den with them.
Agreed.
I hate being around draining people.
They're the worst.
They really are.
Let me drain you, Riley.
Ew.
You already did in Vegas. Sorry, that stayed in Vegas. My bad.
Yeah. What
bad, gang.
happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Update. I came seeking advice. I didn't want to do it because it felt demeaning and performative, but struggled with the idea of saying no for her big day. The whole thing confirmed for me that I don't think she really likes me, which was sad. I grieved it, thought through what my response might be, braced for impact, and reached out asking if we could talk about it multiple times over the course of weeks, but never got a response back. So eventually, she texted my family group chat the Zola link to collect info on her wedding website. I started filling it out. She texted me privately saying, hey, I was planning on thinking of a cute way to ask you to be my flower girl, but never thought of anything and just didn't have the time. So if you see it on my wedding website, pretend to be surprised. Ouch. I wish this was a person who didn't have history of really savage manipulation and I could give the benefit of the doubt. But it's hard to believe this wasn't purposeful on her part not to give me the chance to refuse. I texted back right away saying the most gracious, gentle, longer version of thanks so much for the offer, but I'm not comfortable accepting. But here are some other things I'd be happy to help with. And went on to suggest I didn't need her to create a superficial role for me. And if she was worried about Grace's response, I'd be happy to go as a guest with Grace so she doesn't feel singled out.
That's it's a better solution than you guys being flower girls.
Okay. Yeah. If you're comfortable with this, I'd definitely do that.
Yeah.
She replied with, okay, I get it. Thanks for letting me know. And went on to make it sound like she was relieved to have the out, which I believe was Becky's plan this whole time.
Yeah, but I feel like she's still gonna make a problem out of it.
Even though her plan worked.
I don't know what she's up to.
So then 7 days later, I get a 10-minute voice message from her saying she has thought about it long and hard and she never asked for anything, but she's decided she wants me to be a flower girl, and that's final.
You can't force OP to be your flower girl. What are you doing?
She says that's the main reason she didn't ask me to be a bridesmaid was because she wants her day to be full of prayer and was trying to accommodate me. I'm not religious anymore, but have no problem with her, and I'm still constantly around my family who prays and practices.
That feels like such like a lie. She's like, well, I was doing it for you because I know that you don't like prayer, so I didn't think that you'd want to be a bridesmaid.
I still invite Sophia to Korean barbecue,
Yeah,
even though she's not going to eat meat.
exactly.
She's still hanging out.
It's about hanging out.
Keon still invites me to the bars, even though I don't drink. I'm still hanging out.
Exactly.
That's right.
And she goes on further to say the only possible reason I could have for declining is if I can't really stomach being around prayerful people. And if it's the case that I simply don't like her or her Christian friends, demanded that I say that that's the reason then.
It's crazy that she's like reaching this hard when it's just so obviously that OP feels offended that she's not a part of the bridesmaids.
Sister, this is not sisterly love.
Yeah. No, it is not.
You are not loving thy neighbor.
Mm-mm. Or your sister.
She also added that she also asked her future sister-in-laws, ages 12, 14, and age 22, and married, to be flower girls, who all said yes and were excited. Maybe I would be too if I were walking with my tween-age sisters. It doesn't make me feel any better, but it does add plenty of social pressure. By this point, I hadn't talked to Grace about any of this in an attempt to minimize drama. But when she sent an 8-minute voice message to us in a group chat basically saying everyone else is doing it, and if you say no, you have to explain to me why. I felt comfortable talking to Grace about it. I call Grace, who has hand-painted us gifts to ask us to be her co-matrons of honor, and is absolutely, completely gutted to find out that this is the first message she's gotten from Becky in almost 3 years.
Wow.
Ugh.
Wow. So she's bringing in people. Wait. Who got the message 3 years ago? Or
So
after
I
3
think
years?
Grace she hand-painted us gifts to ask us to be her co-matrons of honor, and she now realizes that she's a flower girl because Becky hasn't talked to her in 3 years.
Dang.
She hand-painted them.
Yeah. No, there's not much of a relationship there, it seems.
As we're talking, Grace checks the website to see that in the last 6 days since I gracefully but firmly declined, she left my name up as a flower girl on her public website. At first, if she'd sat down with me and said, I don't see you in my wedding party, but it would mean the world to me if you consider this role. I know it's non-traditional, but I mean it to be different, not offensive. So what could we do to make it that way? I was prepared to make some suggestions and get over one uncomfortable day. But at every turn, she seems to be underscoring how little she respects or cares about me, and that this role really is to get us the social credit of having us technically in the wedding.
That's exactly what it feels like.
This makes no sense. Just don't ask them to be in the wedding if you want to go
like
through
be
this.
straightforward. Don't do all this manipulative stuff.
And then flip it around and be the victim.
Yeah, and then blame them.
I felt like my only options were to lay low and to go with it, or to absolutely blow things up by saying no. And she definitely made sure one path was far easier than the other. I told her I needed a few days to think on it before texting back, which I did. Unfortunately, this type of manipulative, unkind behavior has been an ongoing issue in our relationship for years and hugely impacts our family. Now that I'm married, I don't want to subject my own family or my future kids to this type of behavior. After thinking on it, I felt like if I bended here, it would never get any better. So I held my ground and said no.
I think that's good. I think you need to respect. I think you need to create your own boundaries, and she should respect them.
She should. This sisters, man, am I right?
Hey, what are you gonna do?
Get rid of them.
No. Maybe this one though.
Yeah. I said I want a relationship where we can love and respect each other and our choices, even the ones we don't agree with. And said how disrespectful and hurt I was that she not only never asked me, but also that she didn't honor my answer when I declined. I said it's a bigger issue to discuss and didn't want to add more to her plate. So let her know that she could reach out if and when she's ready to talk about it, but that the ball was in her court to do so. I was recently talking to a friend where she has issues with one of her girlfriends, and the ball's in her court. It's going to stay in her court. She's done with the friendship. She's not going to do anything. I feel like Becky here, okay, good, it's in my court. I'm going to keep the ball.
She's not gonna pass that ball, and you don't want her to pass that ball.
I think
can
we're
keep
done
it.
here.
Yeah, she can keep that ball.
It's so hard when it comes to family to call it quits
Yeah.
when you know it needs to be quits, but you want to
she
be like,
already
I'm
hasn't
here
talked.
for you.
Yeah, she already hasn't talked to the other sister for 3 years, so clearly she's the one calling quits on this
Look it up.
family.
I think you should pull up and be a flower girl, but have a flower truck too, and just
Be the best flower girl you
Yeah.
can be. Like be like the center of attention. Don't
Yeah.
really do that, but do it, you know?
give everybody prayer cards.
Like have you seen those people on like
Like,
Places.
God bless.
have you seen like the male flower girls who come in with like
Yep. Money.
but they also like have roller skates on and they're like just like
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, just totally upstage her.
do it.
Why not?
You said I could be a flower girl. You didn't say how to be a flower girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joke's on you.
And I finished by saying that when and if how that conversation happens will not impact my eagerness to celebrate and support her, and send it over a list of 22 other things I offered to do instead. Clean her house on her honeymoon so they can come home to it nice, covering delivering meals for the first 3 nights home after the honeymoon, sanction off part of our spare room as wedding storage so that she doesn't have to live with all the stuff that accumulates. Reserve our guest bedroom for the weekend in case somebody they love is able to come last second but isn't able to find any accommodations, etc. By the way, you can be accommodated with your favorite podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Just search up OK Storytime on Apple, iHeartRadio, or Spotify for endless days of content.
Do it.
We got a little bit left here. I never thought about giving up some of your space for wedding storage. That's really sweet. Or cleaning someone's house when they go on a honeymoon.
I didn't think about that. That's nice.
Sophia.
What?
When I get married.
Yeah.
Could you clean my house? when I go on a honeymoon?
I'll pay for someone to come clean your house.
All right.
That's fine.
Bet.
I could probably clean it myself. It's not bad. Depends on how big the house is.
10 bedrooms.
10 bedrooms? You living in a mansion?
I'm going to have kids.
Dang, man. How many kids? 9?
I don't know.
Jeez.
6.
Jeez.
Probably 4. Probably 4.
On
Adopt
down.
a few. Pick some up off the road.
Pick some up.
Hey, you're
pick
coming
some
with me
up.
now.
Hey,
But
you
my
kid.
mom! Don't care.
No.
You're mine.
You're my kid now.
Yeah, you can do that. You can do that if you got good milk.
Huh?
Remember that story?
Yeah, that was crazy.
It was wild.
Which story?
You missed it.
You missed it. You don't even want to know.
You
What
don't want to know.
What
don't
about
wanna
milk?
know.
I'm lactose intolerant.
Want to.
OP continues. She hasn't responded yet, but she has told literally everyone we know, who are all now calling me to explain why I won't do this one simple thing for her. My gut tells me I made the right choice for my family and our future, at least in being kind but honest. But there's the hope that things will get better. But now I feel like an a-hole, saying it feels performative, and I told her that months ago over and over again. So I'm asking once more, is this a me thing? Will this ruin her wedding? Should I just deal with it and make nice and do it, and then my partner and I can distance ourselves after all this is over? Don't do anything you're not comfortable with.
Yeah. I mean, if it ruins her wedding, then that's her fault because she disrespected you, her sisters.
Yeah, dude. And it's not going to ruin her wedding because she's going to be around prayerful
Exactly.
people and she's going to have a good time.
Yeah, she's
And-
just worried about optics. That's the only reason she wants you to come.
Yikes. Ew.
Yikes. We got another story coming up, though, and I need to run to the bathroom.
Bye.
My maid of honor is jealous of my engagement, so I removed her from my life.
Get your own engagement.
I'm getting married in September, and my maid of honor is my best friend since preschool, 20 plus years of friendship. I am the first one of her friends to get engaged, so neither of us has really gone through this process of planning a wedding before. I got engaged last September, and since then, and honestly even before, the vibes have been weird. By the way, this comes from Proposal Spiritual 658, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. And I'm Angie.
And I'm Keon.
And we'll try to give our best advice, but we haven't experienced most of these situations ourselves. So if you have, give us your take in the comments down below. So OP says, this may be hard to understand without knowing the dynamic of our friendship. A quick example would be the time that she blocked me for months in middle school because I was talking about my new hamster too much. Anyways, for starters, I don't think she really likes my fiance. He is a very quiet guy who would rather sit in complete silence than talk, and this has completely rubbed her the wrong way. We have hung out together as a group multiple times, and they get along just fine, and we've had fun times together, but I think she's upset that he hasn't pursued a closer relationship with her. To be fair, the only thing they have in common is me, lol. We also live an hour away from each other, so we don't get together on a regular basis. This weird vibe started when one day her and I were hanging out and I knew my fiance was ring shopping at the time. So I told her excitedly, and instantly the atmosphere went stone cold. She actually got genuinely angry with me because she wanted my fiance to involve her in the proposal. That hadn't even been planned at that point. She never expressed excitement for me and the fact that we were preparing for that next step. She just went straight to anger about wanting to be involved. I explained to her that I really didn't want anyone involved, as him and I are both very private, introverted people who aren't big on PDA. I wanted a very intimate proposal planned by him, as the proposal is the one thing the man is totally responsible for. I wanted him to be able to have his moment and fully trusted his ability to plan something I would love with no help. So fast forward a few months later, we're engaged. I drove the hour down to my maid of honor's house to tell her in person, and quite honestly had terrible anxiety the entire time because I was so afraid of her being upset with me since he ended up not involving her. Luckily, she wasn't outright mad, but I have to say the vibe since that day has been so strange. She was happy for me, sure, but not in the way that you would expect a best friend of 20 years would be. It was basically a, wow, how exciting, and then on to the next thing as if nothing happened. You might be questioning if my fiance is a bad fit for me at this point and thinking that's why my friend is acting this way, but fortunately, that's not the case. I have complained about him once to her a few years back because he bought a sports car and it annoyed me. He later sold that same sports car and bought my engagement ring the same day. So safe to say the problem was resolved, lol. Him and I honestly have a relationship that's so healthy and loving I didn't believe it was possible until I met him. Everyone else adores my fiance and has commented about how much my overall happiness and well-being has improved since being with him. So if she doesn't like him, I'm not sure what her reasoning would be beyond him rubbing her the wrong way because he's very reserved. Following the engagement, the wedding planning started. This included choosing the color palette for the bridesmaids' dresses. I have 5 bridesmaids, including her, and was planning on having them all choose their own solid color dress in one of the colors from the palette. Right off the bat, my maid of honor asked me if I wanted her to be in a different color, pattern, etc., to which I said no. Since I only have 5 bridesmaids, I would like them all to blend cohesively, if that makes sense. Comments about wanting to be different and stand out continued. She ended up choosing a jumpsuit instead of a dress so that she could stand apart from the other bridesmaids, and I gave up at that point saying anything. Sort of unrelated, but at one point she was sending me photos of engagement rings for herself, and multiple of them were almost identical to my ring, just in gold instead of silver. My fiance custom designed my ring, so it's not something that I see often, which makes this even weirder. My question is, does she genuinely not know what my ring looks like and doesn't realize the ones she sent were so similar? Or did she know and not care? It's just so weird. Like, surely I'm not crazy for thinking this is bizarre. Anyways, fast forward a few months, I ended up finding my wedding dress alone, not on purpose, but prior to that, I did do a big dress appointment with my mom, his mom, and my maid of honor, so it's not like we never went together. She just works evenings and weekends, and I work morning and afternoons, so it's rather hard to get together on last-minute notice. This is important because I just had my dress fitting recently, and she made a big point how she wants to be there because I've been doing everything alone. Okay. Come the day of the dress fitting, she texted me that she was having a breakdown because her and her boyfriend were on the rocks. Uh-oh. For context, they are on the verge of breaking up every couple of months, and that has been the pattern for the past 3 years now. Doesn't let me say anything about the situation, so I've had to stay neutral even though I believe it's against her best interest to stay in that relationship. But she can do as she pleases, obviously. I asked if she wanted me to stop by her house before the fitting to check in, and she said that she was scared to tell me what's going on because she feels like I'm against her boyfriend. Projecting, maybe? Oh, interesting. So she doesn't want to tell OP what's going on because she knows that she knows that she's gonna tell them to just stay broken up.
Yeah, and yeah, I get it. She's like, oh, because you're engaged and having a wonderful time, and I'm having a terrible time, so you want me to have a terrible time and make me look bad.
Right. You're against my boyfriend. You're against me. I feel like she's going to try to convince her to call off the wedding.
OP, how are you not like BFFs with my boyfriend?
Right.
Like, you should be telling him to stay with me.
Yeah. Anyways, I sent a reply still staying very neutral, but basically implying that she knows deep down what's best for her, and she needs to listen to that. After that, she said that she couldn't come to my fitting anymore. Luckily, she did end up changing her mind and showed up a bit before the fitting started, but the vibes were still so weird. A bit out of order, but the week before my dress fitting, we went camping for my birthday and returned to my house on my birthday. When we came into the house to grab her car keys, we saw that my fiance had decorated for my birthday and had a present waiting for me. He was at work at the time, so it was just me and my maid of honor at the house. She prompted me to open it, and it turned out to be a wedding band. Oh, wow. He had told me he didn't have the money for one and we wouldn't be able to get one, so this moment was very special for me and a total surprise. I started tearing up and went to show her, and she basically said, "Oh, that's nice," and walked off to finish putting stuff in her car. This totally took me out of the moment and kind of shocked me. On the camping trip, she was saying how she wants to be a part of these important moments, but when she was, it didn't seem like she wants to be, or something goes wrong. I know she's been talking with her boyfriend about getting engaged, and she has said that she doesn't feel like they are on the same page about it. She brings up other people's engagements to me with the question of, when is it my turn? I'm wondering if the state of her relationship is preventing her from being truly happy for me, and that is what's creating this odd vibe. I understand it isn't fun to be celebrating someone else's relationship when your own is struggling, but I just don't know what to do. Also, while on this camping trip, she brought up wanting to do a toast at the wedding. I've been worried about this topic for a while, since she isn't the biggest fan of my fiance. Well, apparently her plan for her toast is to just be about me, and then someone else can do one for him. I feel like that's not usually how, like, maid of honor stuff works.
I mean, yes, you do because you are the maid of honor.
Yeah.
It's mainly about
Yeah, the
about
friend.
OP,
Right.
But you gotta like the fact that you're not gonna put anything in there about OP's future husband,
Yeah.
fiance at the moment is wild. I've done a best man speech.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
It was very fun.
Yeah.
I blacked out. Like
Sure.
no. I wasn't. I didn't drink. I was
but like
completely like, what happened?
right. Like, did it go well?
And everyone's like, you did really well. You made people laugh. It was
Dude,
great. I was like, heck
See,
yes.
I feel like when you like mentally black out of performances like that, that means you did amazing.
completely zoned out. I definitely like muffled a little bit, but like who doesn't?
Yeah.
It's great. It was very, very fun. And what I did was talk about my relationship with my friend who
Yeah.
I was the best man for.
Yeah.
And then I was like, cool, 70% of it was about him, 60%. And then the rest of it was about his wife.
Yeah, I feel like that's usually how it goes. It's like, oh, this is my relationship with my bestie, and then it's like, this is how I've seen their relationship blossom, and it's so beautiful. You know?
And it was. That's what it was. And everyone loved it.
Yeah, that's
I
great. We don't need to worry about the people that didn't. This is a problem for me because the wedding is not about me. It's about him and I as a pair. I want the toasts to be celebrating our relationship and not just me as an individual. I'm planning on talking with her about that, and I have a feeling that it might bring up a lot of buried emotion that has been causing this weird energy for the past year. This wedding is in less than 2 months, and I have no idea how that conversation will play out. And in around 2 months straight, you could listen to full episodes of more stories just like this one on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, or whatever your favorite podcast app is. Just search OK Storytime. We literally have 2 consecutive months and more of stories waiting for you. There is a little bit more to the story, but what should we do about this maid of honor? We've got 2 months.
This maid of honor, you got to have a conversation before things, she will, I don't think it would be, maybe it's intentionally or not intentionally, but sabotaging your wedding.
Yeah.
This is your day. You want to make it the best day it could be.
Right.
And if she's going to be an obstacle or a stress factor
Yeah.
for you, you got to have a conversation.
Yeah.
You got to have a conversation and be like, you know what, tell her straight up. And if she is still pushing or still stressing you out, you could demote her. That is
Yeah.
not going to be great. We already know what she's like if she doesn't get her way. But
Right.
again, what I say about weddings, it's your wedding, your rules. If somebody is going to ruin that day for you, definitely don't let her in,
Yeah,
or
right.
But also, I would talk to your fiance
Yeah.
and see
true.
what he thinks too.
See what he would want. Yeah, because I don't know. It's like it's very easy for me as someone that doesn't actually know these people to just be like, I don't think you should be friends, But like that's kind of how I feel. So I
Yeah.
don't want to say that because obviously 20 plus years of friendship or whatever. Was that right? Or is
It's
that
20 plus friends. Yeah,
Okay,
they've been
yeah.
friends since pretty much grade school.
Yeah, so long time of being friends. I understand that it's like difficult to just be like, oh, bye, all of a sudden, because you have so much past together and everything. You probably have family friends and stuff,
Yeah, you have literally 20. You don't make that up.
Right.
20 years is 20 years.
Right.
But
But-
if she's causing you to do this. And
Yeah. Yeah, but there is a little bit more to this story. Believe me when I say the vibe is weird, and there have been so many little things that I haven't mentioned here that have added up over time. It's like a strange tension is always in the air when we're together. Sometimes it's easier to ignore, but when happy moments happen for me, it seems to become more prevalent. So what do I do? Obviously, I want my friend of 20 years to be part of my big day and all of these special moments, but if the vibe is always so off, then I just don't know. Any advice? Should I just talk to her and risk opening Pandora's box and burning the bridge right before the wedding? I just want to feel like my maid of honor is genuinely happy for me, and I'm not sure if that's the case right now. And we actually do have an update.
Oh, wait, yo.
A little update.
We already said our piece, so
Yeah, we have set our piece. We know what we want you to do.
what do we think is gonna happen? Do we think Opie's gonna have a full-on conversation? I don't know. Maybe you got a
I
little sneak
hope
peek.
so. I feel like either she doesn't have the conversation or okay, wait, actually restarting.
Okay.
I feel like she either has the conversation,
Mhm.
things blow up a little bit,
Okay.
but maybe she just kind of deals with it and just like
She like
lets her
stomps
be
her foot,
crazy.
like, okay.
Right.
Like not OP, but the friend. The friend goes, okay, sure.
Let's find out. Okay, update. So, long story short, we had a conversation. She is no longer my maid of honor, and we are
Oh.
no longer friends. But that's all we get. It's just that one sentence.
And you know what, Angie? Sometimes that's all you need.
yeah.
We don't need the the full
All
on
the
details
Yeah.
because we already knew.
Yeah.
We already know that she was like, it's
Right.
about me.
We could.
So-
You're right. We could definitely see how that played out. We can 100% assume
I can
how that
I
conversation
can
went.
fill in the blanks. You
Yeah.
know. Well, good on you, OP. You
oh
did.
my gosh.
You did what you needed to do and you were supposed to do. And
Yeah.
you know what? It shows your true colors. Like I said earlier, your wedding, your rules. If this person's gonna
Exactly.
ruin your day and stress you out, you don't need them there.
My friend threw a bridal party before even getting engaged.
Listen, if you know what's gonna happen, why not?
Well, let's find out. My 29 female friend, 29 female, is getting married to her boyfriend, 24 male, in 2 months. They just started dating this January, and neither of them have been in a serious relationship before this. A week into their relationship, they already started talking about marriage and signed up for marriage classes through their church. By the way, this comes from user Emily Freeze, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I'm Dakota.
And I'm Angie.
And I'm Sophia.
And we're here to give good advice, goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what would we do. So let us know what you would do in the comments. OP says, not even 3 weeks into their relationship, my friend found a fake topaz ring on the ground at a grocery store and decided to buy a ring box and give it to her boyfriend so that he could use it to propose to her. She found a trash ring on the ground and gave it to her boyfriend and said, propose to me with this ring? She sent us pictures of the ring and told us about their plans to get engaged using that ring after their 6th-month anniversary. And then they would have their wedding 1 to 2 weeks after that. Her boyfriend has displayed a lot of very concerning behavior since the beginning of their relationship. He is very religious and wants to save himself for marriage. He made my friend get rebaptized since she was not a virgin. He has expressed concerns to my friend about her age and that he is worried she might be getting too old to have children if they don't start right away. He has also tried to ban her from watching all of her favorite television series, immediately gone, such as Friends or Bridgerton, because he believes they are satanic and corn-related and compromise their Christian values. Several of our friends, as well as her parents, have expressed concerns to her about rushing all of this and making sure she isn't making permanent decisions she will regret. Both my friend and her boyfriend have never moved out of their childhood homes after high school graduation, so neither of them have experience taking care of themselves without their parents' assistance. She gets very defensive whenever you question her decisions, no matter how gently you phrase it, and always insists that they don't have a traditional relationship, but that they both know what they want and they're best friends.
Who knew what they wanted first? And how did the second person know what they want? Was the first person trying to talk them into it or something like that? How did that go?
I don't
go
know.
down?
I just don't know how you have like the most traditional, like the throwback traditional relationship.
Yeah,
Your future husband's being like, you are not allowed to see these things.
right,
I am the one in control of your eyes.
right. Quite traditional.
Talk about a throwback.
Yeah, is that a reference from something or just?
No, that's just a
history?
reference into the history
Okay,
of
got it.
men and women.
I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing.
I'm sure they
out on
weren't
something.
all like that.
I'm
right?
sure.
That has to be, if you're talking about tradition.
Yeah. So it feels like yes, you are traditional.
Tradition. About a month ago, she went wedding dress shopping and said yes to the dress. I congratulated her and asked her about the wedding, and she said they're getting married at the beginning of August, but that they don't have a venue picked out yet. They don't plan on having a courthouse wedding, and she's adamant about having a real wedding with a ceremony and reception. No save the dates or wedding invites have been created yet. My friend just sent out invites to her bridal shower on Monday, and mine arrived in the mail on Wednesday. To my surprise, her bridal shower is already this upcoming Sunday, less than 2 weeks after the invites were sent out. I looked at the registry, and she's asking for a lot of very high-priced and luxurious things on very short notice. Right, because she's someone who fundamentally doesn't even understand how the world works yet. She's never moved out of her house.
I mean, this is the whole point people get married, right? Is to like get a bunch of gifts, have a party, and then you don't have a great night afterwards.
Again, the most traditional you could be. You're like, Yeah, I mean, we're getting married mostly because people are going to give us a lot of stuff, and I guess we'll just, you know,
Right.
the family. I know that they have a rushed timeline since she wants to get married 2 weeks after they're engaged, which is crazy. Who wants that? But it is shocking being invited to a bridal shower for someone who isn't even engaged and doesn't have a venue booked yet for a wedding less than 2 months away. After talking with the rest of our friend group, who have all been friends for 24 plus years, almost all of us have decided against going to the shower. This is basically due to the principle of it being inappropriate, throwing yourself a bridal shower months before you will even be engaged. And there is nothing set in stone to demonstrate they will go through with this wedding, other than saying they plan to get married in August. In addition, she can't expect everyone to bend over backwards for her and make sure she can have her luxurious dream wedding when almost everyone else in the friend group is currently planning their own wedding with their long-term boyfriends in the process of purchasing a home or are pregnant. It's too soon to know what the ramifications will be of having her entire friend group not show up for her bridal shower, but it will be interesting to see how the next 2 months of wedding planning go. And there is an edit to add. First, I understand where people are coming from saying she is actually engaged since they have plans to get married and a tentative date,
That's what I was wondering. It felt like she was engaged already,
but like she's not.
but they're just planning the engagement while they're planning the wedding.
No. I know that she's given him the ring that she wants him to give her. I can assure you, every time we ask her if she is engaged, she insists that she's not. They're still just dating. When we ask why they don't get formally engaged or why he doesn't just propose now, considering they already have a ring, she says they don't want to be engaged until their 6-month anniversary because they don't want to feel like they're rushing things.
What? I'm confused by them because OP mentioned that it's like weird that they're going to get married after 2 weeks of being engaged, but they're not even engaged yet. So why are we planning the engagement?
It's just the ultimate self-gaslight.
Yeah.
They're like, we're getting engaged on this day. We know it, but we're not
Right.
going to get engaged right now
Right.
because we don't want to rush things.
Yeah,
After
exactly.
all, we want to wait at least 6 months before we commit to being with each other for the rest of our lives.
Right.
At least half a year. But we already are going to do that. We know we're going to do it. It's set in stone that we're doing that,
Right.
but we're not going to rush things.
Because to me, 6 months is still rushing things.
Yes, we talked about getting married a week into our relationship,
Yeah.
but we're not going to rush it.
We're not going to actually do it.
Yeah.
We don't want it to look like we're
It's
rushing.
delusional. It's like the same like feeling of like having like a car like covered in rust and you just paint over it and you're like, I solved it.
Right.
Just rotten house and you're like, oh, just put a blanket on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, for those shaming us for not planning her a bridal shower, it has always been the sister, sister-in-law, mother, or mother-in-law who planned the shower for everyone else's wedding in this friend group and for her siblings. We are not sure why it was expected to be any different for her. Even so, we only just found out the tentative date for a wedding. You don't normally immediately plan a shower the second someone announces they're going to get married, especially when nothing had been set in motion to secure an actual venue to have the wedding. We found out on Mother's Day that she had a wedding date set. That's not much turnaround time to drop everything else we have planned in the next coming weeks to try and plan a shower in the 2-weekend window of dates she said worked for her. The part I failed to convey initially in the post is our biggest concern is her sense of entitlement. She genuinely wants people to cancel their plans, such as a baby shower, gender reveal party, and vacations, to plan things for her. She also was expecting to not have to pay for anything for the wedding and fully believed both of their parents would fully finance their wedding. She lashed out when her parents told her they aren't paying for her wedding, only the wedding dress. When her boyfriend's mom asked where they were getting the money to pay for this wedding, she called her broke and greedy for not wanting to pay for their venue, food, and drinks. She then turned around and texted us about how she wishes harm upon their parents
Whoa.
and how much she hates them because they won't financially support this wedding. It's impossible to defend her actions when she feels entitled to everyone else's time and money. Honestly, at this point, I'm just dropping the friend.
Yeah, I don't know how much of this I could hear. How much of this complaining for nothing.
Yeah, anyone who's like able to call their future in-law just like broke and greedy for not paying for their entire wedding that they shouldn't even be having.
So wild.
because this is just not the right way to do this. I'd be like, oh, I'm out.
Yeah.
Have a good life. I hope it's
Bye.
good. I truly
Bye.
do. I wish you the best.
Yeah.
But it's not me. Any thoughts would be appreciated. And there are some comments. Comment number 1. Man, this is probably going to be a disaster. He's probably going to hold over her the entire marriage that she didn't save herself for marriage, like he allegedly did. He's going to use that to wear down her self-esteem. If they can't have kids for whatever reason, he's going to blame it on her for not being married younger. Everything in her life that brings her joy will slowly be labeled demonic and cut out of her life little by little. Agreed. Comment 2. I mean, if her and the boyfriend are in agreement in getting married, then they're engaged technically. But that's the least of the worries here. They're moving way too quickly, and it's likely so that they can have spicy sleep together, setting themselves up to fail. A reply to that comment says, I think that the rush is either to have the spicy sleep or for the bride to get married before she turns 30. I'd put money on her birthday being in September. OP replies, she has always been the friend that just copies what everyone else does for as long as we've known her. If you cut your hair, she cuts her hair. If you buy a new band t-shirt, she buys the same one. You pick up a new hobby, she picks up the same hobby. So as soon as her best friend got married, bought a house and got pregnant, she's pretty much spiraled and immediately jumped into a relationship and started talking marriage and children right away. Comment 3, if she's a good friend, I'd be comfortable asking her how the wedding shower planning is coming and see if she has it all together at all to be throwing a party like that. Obviously, there's a lot off here. There is no reason for anybody to be spending lots of money. Maybe the friends could offer to help her with some wedding planning to maybe help her realize how nutty some of this is. If they see it through, they see it through. OP replies, it's definitely thrown together last minute because she assumed her maid of honor, one of our friends, was planning the shower for her, since the maid of honor was planning the bachelorette party. Which, spoiler alert, she wasn't. So her sister-in-law helped throw something together, and it's at their own apartment complex downtown. She has asked our other friends for their contact for the venues, hair and makeup stylists, photographers, and videographers that they used for their wedding, or are using for their upcoming wedding. And she was shocked that everything cost more than $50.
Who is this woman? She isn't a woman yet, it feels. She does not feel like an adult, even though she's 29 years old.
She's a bubble person. She's just lived in a bubble. She's been in a bubble forever, and she's just copied everyone around her.
Yeah. I'm assuming that her parents aren't actually broke like she accused them of, because clearly she hasn't paid for anything for herself, it seems.
Yeah.
If she thinks that all of that crazy stuff is going to be $50, not going to happen.
Watch, you guys, they are charging so much money.
Why?
It's more than one family outing at the fast food restaurant.
Right.
It's like you're gonna be astounded once you have children
Dude.
and a house.
Yeah.
Oh boy,
Does she
things
work?
get expensive.
Oh my goodness.
I'd assume she works, right? She's
I'd
got
hope so.
Okay. Everyone has tried to help her and tell her it's not realistic to expect to book any of these things in only a month when they had to sign contracts and put deposits down 6 to 12 months ahead of time. But she still thinks she can have it all for her wedding. Comment 4. I know this is going to sound harsh, but could your friend be learning disabled or developmentally disabled in some way? Or if this is out of character, I worry about mental illness like bipolar, which doesn't always manifest until slightly later in life. OP says, we don't have any sort of formal diagnosis, but she has always been different from the rest of us, like she was in some of the catch-up type of classes in high school, and she absolutely does not understand social cues whatsoever and couldn't read the room to save her life. She just demonstrates that she makes very illogical decisions, most recently like wearing fashion-heeled boots and Daisy Dukes to go hiking when everyone is wearing sneakers and athletic wear. Believe me, we have not abandoned her, and we've tried helping her for literally 2 decades now, but it is absolutely impossible to give her any type of advice or guide her towards making different decisions. She just doubles down on whatever decision she makes if you try to help. And there's an update. I really do think at some point we just gotta excuse ourselves from the situation.
Yeah. Like, you could try calling her out on it and telling her, but I have a feeling, got some sort of feeling, that she's not going to care. She's not going to listen to you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree. It would just be best to just remove yourself from the situation.
Because I also have a sneaky little feeling they're not getting married.
It's possible.
That's my sneaky feeling.
A lot happened in 1 week, so a lot could happen in 6 months.
I think it's very eye-opening that she's like, this is all more than $50?
Yeah.
And she wants to book everything in basically 2 months.
Right.
It's crazy. Update. It's been about a month and a half since our friend's bridal shower, and things have continued to spiral. Her bridal shower surprisingly had an okay turnout for how last minute the invites went out. She had her bridesmaids there, and then one other friend, and then about a dozen or so family members from both sides of their families. But the rest of us childhood friends weren't able to make it. From her maid of honor's report, she did not, in fact, get any of the $100 Turkish towels. The games at the party were a little awkward since a lot of the questions didn't apply for the game of who said or did what first. For the question who proposed, her sister-in-law yelled out, "Let's skip that question. They aren't actually engaged." She's expressed to her maid of honor some of her dissatisfaction with the gifts she did get, and she's disappointed no one bought them the high-ticket items she wanted, like 12 $100 Carnival Cruise gift cards. About a week after the shower, they did officially get engaged in front of the emergency exit door at their church on their 5-month anniversary, a month earlier than they had originally planned, and posted about how it was really special to them because that's where they had met. At the emergency exit. Isn't that poetic?
He overheard me talking in the church and he started running away. And so I chased after him and caught up to him in the emergency exit door. Thank goodness he didn't open the door yet.
And he was impressed by my athleticism.
Yeah. And I convinced him to come right back here.
He said,
I'm not going to let him leave.
"You know, now that I think about it, based on how fast you ran,
Yeah.
you could sire some very strong children."
Right. Oh, this is so wild.
Let's go to the coffee shop and then immediately talk about getting married.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where they would break up and then he would be processing all of it and look at their wedding pictures again and see the emergency exit, see how close he is, and think, how did I not see this sign all along? That was a sign literally from God in this church.
From God at the church.
Yeah.
Emergency! Exit!
Emergency.
Exit! Exit!
Yeah.
When she posted all over social media, it finally happened! With a picture of the ring, I congratulated her on the engagement and asked her the story about the ring. She didn't know that I knew it was found on the ground of the grocery store. She lied and told me, "I actually found it and picked it out, and he just bought it." I then asked her if she knew what kind of stone it was, since I've never seen a blue engagement ring before. And she said, "No, I don't. I need to take it in to find out." I questioned how she didn't know what it was when there's no way the jewelry store wouldn't tell them. After a bit more back and forth of me trying to coax the real answer out of her, she broke down and told me how she found it on the grocery store floor and they wanted to keep the wedding as cheap as possible and she was fine with just using that. I used this as an opportunity to try and have a heart-to-heart with her and make sure she knows what she's getting into, as marriage is a big deal and not something to take lightly. I brought up some of the difficult conversations they should be having, as well as a lot of the red flags I've heard about this relationship from her mom and other friends. But she blew me off and said she knows how marriage works because of their church classes. She claimed they've already supposedly talked about every possible scenario that could ever happen in their marriage or the future, such as illness, disability, passing in the family, and unemployment. She pretty much ended the conversation with, "We covered all of that in our marriage preparation class that we took. It was a whole month that we took, and they talk about all of that. Plus, we also go to church, so we believe in God and his plan for us." So much more has happened since then between her bachelorette party drama, first apartment drama, wedding planning disasters, and just her general sense of selfishness and ungratefulness. But that needs its own separate post to really dive into. Anyways, she just sent out her wedding invites in the mail on July 1st for a Friday, August 1st wedding, so only 10 days to go before I will probably have more drama to share. And there's a second update. I'm not associating with this person or this wedding.
Yeah.
Especially if their attitude is so ungrateful and rude and mean.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to have a heart-to-heart of you're marrying this guy for no reason. You don't have to do it. And all I get back is, well, you don't, I know everything about marriage, actually, because I took a class. I'd be like, well, let me know when you realize how wrong you are.
Maybe this is all just a part of the class. Maybe their final is to find someone to get married to.
Yeah, their final is, it's actually like, and this was all a game.
Yeah. Yeah.
This
It's
was
like,
all a ruse.
well, if you want to graduate at the end of the semester in 6 months, you have to get married. Otherwise, you have to retake the class until you get married. Again, just like Mr. Milkshake.
Just again.
Again. She's 29. She's an old maiden now.
Yeah.
She's far past the age of getting married.
Yeah. I hear your eggs crying out. Update number 2. My friend's fiance said this isn't his wedding, it's hers, and she's blaming his feelings on his diet. My friend has been dating her current fiance since January, and they planned after only a week together that they were going to get married. They signed up for marriage classes through their church. She threw herself a bridal shower before getting engaged, and then a month later, on their 5th-month anniversary, they formally got engaged. Her wedding is now in 5 days, and he has not helped plan it at all. To be fair, she also deferred most of the wedding planning to her mom. There have been a lot of issues throughout all of the wedding planning since they're rushing this marriage just so they can have the bow chicka bow and get pregnant right away. He's concerned about her ability to get pregnant because he thinks she might be too old to have kids. One of the biggest issues is that they gave their final head count to the caterer before sending out the wedding invites. The invites were only sent out 4 weeks prior to the wedding with no RSVP date. They estimated 140 people for food, but almost 210 people have RSVP'd. They do not plan on ordering more food.
How many people for food? What was that number?
140, but then 210 RSVP'd. How are you going to order the catering before you even have a head count? That's the dumbest thing I've read so far.
Why did you invite that many people?
If you're like, we're going to keep the wedding like low cost, low maintenance.
Yeah, inviting anyone over 100 people?
Yeah.
That's way too many people.
We're going
for a
to
wedding.
invite enough people to fill a small theater.
Yeah.
So, another issue is that she wanted a small private ceremony with only immediate family, but she sent out the same invite to everyone. That invite included both the ceremony time and location and the reception time and location. Because of this, at least 100 people do not know they are not supposed to come to the ceremony, which means there will not be enough seating. A few days ago, my friend and her fiance were hanging out with a group of friends from their church. People kept asking if they were excited for the big day coming up. My friend told everyone, of course they are, but her fiance was quiet and shrugged. He told everyone, not really. This upset my friend. Later that evening, my friend texted her maid of honor and asked if her husband was excited when they got married. The maid of honor responded that, of course, her husband was just as excited as she was. My friend responded by saying, he wants to get married and he wants to have kids, but told me he's not excited about marrying me and he's worried. But he has been praying about it. And the maid of honor responded and said that it is not okay this close to the wedding for him to be saying that. My friend's response was, I read it's normal for some guys to just want to be married instead of being excited for a wedding.
According to my studies in my marriage class, it's okay if they were trying to escape from me when I asked them to marry me. It's okay. It's okay if they were trying to get out of the church through the emergency exit. That's totally fine.
He looked me right in my eyes and he said, I genuinely don't care.
Yep.
I couldn't care any less.
Yep.
I just want to get married so we can go, chapow, woo.
Yep.
I regret some of those noises. The maid of honor told her that she cannot just believe everything she reads on the internet. She said they need to have a serious conversation about whether this marriage is really what they both want. It's a serious commitment, and it sounds like he's not so sure about it. Unfortunately, my friend has not listened to any of her friends in the last few months when we tried to give her advice and help her. Her response to all of this was very concerning. She said, he thinks it is a spiritual attack, and he only told me because he wanted me to know, not to make me sad. He's just not excited for the wedding stuff. He knows we will have fun the day of, and he wants to marry me and have kids, but right now he just feels off, and it could be a spiritual attack, or it could be because he is eating gluten and dairy lately, and that is not good for him and messes with his mind. He also has not planned anything, so it is not his wedding. It is more mine. Don't worry. He wants to marry me and loves me and wants kids. He's just not excited right now. He's been eating dairy and gluten.
Is dairy and gluten satanic?
I am under spiritual attack from dairy and gluten.
This is so crazy.
Worry not, wife.
There's just some sort of spiritual pull right now.
My stomach hurts
My
when I
stomach
have
hurts.
dairy and gluten.
Right.
And that's the devil.
Right. And on a spiritual level, something is telling me that we shouldn't get married. It's gotta be demons.
Yeah.
Right?
It's gotta
Right,
be.
guys?
I'm not excited. Demons.
Yeah. It couldn't be a sign from God. No.
Also, why are you not involved at all in your own wedding?
yeah,
crazy.
shouldn't you, like,
Crazy work. Apparently, even OP's friend isn't that involved. It was mostly her mom. But-
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
After hearing all this, I was absolutely speechless. I've not heard of men questioning their entire relationship because they ate a grilled cheese, but I guess there is a first time for everything. Of note, this man does not have any food allergies and has never had issues with any type of food messing with his mind before. Our friend is just grasping at straws to justify them still getting married. I cannot wait to see how this wedding goes. Hopefully, he doesn't ghost her at the altar based on his current feelings. Regardless, it is going to be interesting to see how this wedding goes with not enough chairs or food for all of the guests, and the crash out that ensues after. And by the way, I would crash out so hard if you didn't listen to full episodes with stories like this.
Yep.
On Spotify or Apple Podcasts or iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search OK Storytime and you can listen to every story we've ever told.
He's crashed out about it before, so he's not lying. I've seen it. It's gonna happen. So you better save him from that.
I get rowdy.
Rowdy. This
Man, oh man.
I hope he figures it out that he doesn't want to marry this woman. And
Yeah.
he's just not ready for it.
And I hope that your friend one day figures out that she doesn't just need to do what all the people around her are doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Let's finish this off. Edit to add. I cannot believe I forgot to mention this in the original post. I think it adds more context to how ridiculous this all is. Her engagement ring was found on the floor of a grocery store. She found it and decided to keep it. She then gave it to her boyfriend to propose to her with. It is a non-traditional ring with a topaz stone, but likely a cheap ring since the metal is turning red and her finger is turning green. Also, the wedding is in 5 days and they have not applied for their marriage certificate yet. She didn't know they had to do that and assumed their officiant would get the license for them. And that is the end of that story.
Wow.
My best friend sabotaged my wedding, so I cut her off for good.
Not your best friend anymore.
I, 30 female, have been really good friends with someone we'll call Allie, 30 female, over the last 4 years. We met in our second degrees at university and became good friends. We didn't have much in common, but we had a similar sense of humor, and being able to have a good laugh bonded us. Allie is simply a fun person to be around. By the way, this comes from Glum Value 4743, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. I'm Sophia.
I'm Carly.
And I'm Keon.
And we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we'd do, so let us know what you would do in the comments. As time progressed, Allie told me more about her life and her struggles with mental health. I also struggle with mental health and have worked in the field, so I felt comfortable discussing this. I really liked Allie, and we had become such good friends that, of course, I didn't mind being there for her. There were many nights where she would call me, usually intoxicated, because she had had a hard time talking about feelings, to discuss whatever was bothering her. I found it stressful sometimes, since often she would call when it wasn't convenient. But she was my good friend, and I cared about her. So I would always put whatever I was doing on hold to talk. Over time, I noticed that when something was bothering me and I wanted to talk, she wouldn't make the same kind of time for me. If I brought anything up that was going on with me, she would quickly change the conversation after a few minutes. But I chalked it up to her having a hard time talking about emotions. I justified it by thinking it wasn't because she didn't care, she just didn't know what to say. When I was getting married to my partner of 8 years, Allie and I had become such good friends. I asked her to be my bridesmaid. I'm still a student, so money is tight and I'm super busy, but I tried to make being a bridesmaid as simple and stress-free as possible. The only thing I asked of my bridesmaids was to buy their own dress, but they could choose the style as long as it was any shade of the particular color we were going with. Beyond this, everything else was optional. Allie said she wanted hair and makeup done, so I hired someone at a reasonable price, $60 for makeup, $80 for hair, and if they wanted it done, they could pay for it themselves. I asked who wanted hair and makeup months in advance, told them the prices, and signed the contract. There were no other costs associated with the wedding. And I specifically said no gifts because their gift to me was just being my bridesmaid. But I felt that Allie made every event of my wedding about her or made it unnecessarily stressful. My mom flew in from out of town to come shopping for my wedding dress and take my bridesmaids out for lunch. The day we went, Allie called about an hour beforehand and said she didn't want to come because a guy on a dating app had ghosted her. At dress alterations months later, she was so late, she arrived just as I was taking the dress off, despite being at home with no reason for the delay. For the bachelorette, I suggested just going to the spa for a day. Allie generously offered her family cottage for a weekend. I was excited, but when we got there, Allie and Mandy hung out together, even leaving one day to go into town for drinks without inviting me or anyone else. At the cottage, we discussed wedding day transport. The wedding was 40 to 50 minutes out of town, so I arranged a shuttle for guest safety. The shuttles were expensive, so I asked guests to pay $30 per person to supplement costs. The wedding party could use it free, but I needed to know ahead of time to book it. Allie and Mandy said they wanted the shuttle. When I got home, I booked a second shuttle since they put me over the limit, costing an extra $1,000.
Okay, but it was 40 to 50 minutes. I was like, at that point, just get an Uber for those
Truthfully,
two. That would
yeah.
be so much cheaper, probably.
The day we got back from the cottage, Allie said that she felt bad for me because my maid of honor did nothing. Allie said my maid of honor didn't plan anything and didn't seem to care that it was my bachelorette. I felt like Allie was trying to turn me against my maid of honor, but my maid of honor did everything I wanted. I didn't want a fuss maid, I just wanted to have a chill weekend. Then Allie made me feel super stressed out because she was concerned about the timeline of the wedding day and made me feel that I didn't have enough things organized. She asked why I hadn't brought umbrellas in case it rained and we needed them for pictures, why I hadn't got the bridesmaids to buy matching PJs for pictures in the morning, and what we were going to cook the night before the wedding in the Airbnb. She was getting me stressed about things I didn't care about or things that my maid of honor or I had already planned. She said that she wanted to take over some of the planning, but I tried to assure her I had it covered. About 3 weeks before the wedding, Allie asked to see the document where I had the schedule for the day. I sent Allie the Excel document. There were lots of tabs in this document, with one clearly labeled schedule and one labeled budget. I got a text from Allie telling me she no longer wanted hair and makeup. I was confused because she was the one that specifically asked for hair and makeup. I told her that I had already signed the contract, but she asked me to ask the hair and makeup girl if I could remove her. Then I got a phone call from Mandy. Mandy was only getting partial makeup done for $40. She called to tell me she didn't want it either. I asked her why, and Mandy said that Allie had called her and told her that Allie was going to have to pay over $200 for hair and makeup, so I had advised Mandy to cancel too. At this point, I realized what had happened. Allie had looked at the budget page of the Excel document. Because I was the bride and I have trials, my hair and makeup was significantly more expensive. At this point, I was a little annoyed. I didn't understand why Allie hadn't just talked to me instead of talking to Mandy. But I didn't say anything and just explained what the actual price was and sorted the misunderstanding. Okay, so Allie didn't even read the right thing.
Right. So Allie's just like thinking that the bridal hair
Yeah.
and makeup is the price that they're all paying.
Yeah,
Which is
dude.
obviously more expensive.
And also, like, you're stupid because OP told you what the prices
Right.
were
You
beforehand.
think she's just gonna like change it on the day of and be like, actually, it's $200 more.
But then the next day, Allie texted me and told me she and Mandy didn't want the shuttle anymore. I was getting pretty annoyed now because that extra shuttle cost me about an extra $1,000. I asked her why they didn't want the shuttle. My wedding was in early October. In early November, Allie had an important exam. Allie said she was going to leave early from my wedding and go home and study for her exam and would drive Mandy home too. I was devastated. I didn't understand at all. I absolutely understand important exams. I am currently working on my 3rd degree and trying to get into medical school. But even I thought this was ridiculous. She couldn't take one night off of studying for an exam that was going to be a month away from my wedding. At this point, the exam was about a month and 3 weeks away. We got into a huge fight over text message. She told me that she didn't have to put her life on hold for my wedding. I was hurt because I didn't think I had asked very much. I tried to call her, but she refused to answer my calls. Finally, 2 weeks later, she called me after she got back from vacation, where she went to see a concert and a baseball baseball game. We sorted it out, mostly me apologizing because I just wanted things to be okay for the wedding. I had spent 2 weeks crying over this, and I just wanted us to be good. She told me I had misunderstood, and she wasn't planning on leaving early. The rehearsal dinner was 2 days before the wedding. Allie had offered to book the event room in her building about 6 months prior for the event. A couple of days before the rehearsal dinner, Allie told me she would be a little bit late to the rehearsal because she had a meeting at work. She said the meeting was optional, but she wanted to go because it was at a new job and it was the first meeting. She said her bosses knew she had the rehearsal dinner, so she would only stay for a little while. Well, she missed the entire rehearsal and just showed up at the very end when the justice of the peace had already left. If you're not even at the rehearsal, why are you even a bridesmaid?
I want to know what she's actually done as a bridesmaid.
Seemingly nothing. She's
Besides
just cost
cost
OP
OP.
yeah, money. I was annoyed, but at this point I was just happy she was there at all after our big falling out. She didn't say anything. The night before the wedding, we stayed the night in an Airbnb so we could all get ready together in the morning. The wedding day was very nice. At around 8 p.m., I asked where Allie was. She had gone home. I cried on my wedding day. This is what I found out. Allie and Mandy had come to the Airbnb together the night before. The Airbnb was not in the greatest place, about 50 minutes from the venue, and a little over an hour from our city in another direction. The night before the wedding, Allie and Mandy had driven to the venue without telling anyone. They parked Allie's car about a 15-minute walk away from the venue where I wouldn't see it. Then Mandy and Allie had driven to the Airbnb together. Then, basically right after dinner at the wedding, Allie walked to her car and drove home without saying goodbye. The day after the wedding, Allie texted me saying that she had a great time at the wedding and told me she loved me. But I was so upset. I couldn't believe she had left early and didn't even say goodbye. I told her I needed some space because I was upset about it. She replied saying that she didn't say goodbye because she knew I would be upset, but said nothing more. I needed about a month to think it over. I came to the conclusion that Allie didn't really care about me. I sent her a message. It wasn't a nasty message. It simply said that after some time to reflect, although it really hurt me, I couldn't be her friend anymore because of her actions. All she said was that she was sorry I was upset and wished me good luck with life. I have cried over this friendship breakup for months. I thought that she would come to realize how much she hurt me and she would apologize. It has been over 4 months and she hasn't. So my first question is, am I wrong for ending this friendship over this? My next question has to do with my books. I have an extensive book collection. Allie was a reader too, and we often exchanged books. After this exchange, I realized that I had 2 of her books and she has 2 of mine. I texted her and asked very politely if she could drop the books off at my maid of honor's door. They live in the same apartment building, and that I would drop her books off the next time I was there. No reply. I dropped her books off at her door with a note asking if she could give the books to the maid of honor. No reply. I sent her a message over social media, hoping maybe she blocked my number and somehow lost the note. No reply.
OP's
I
being
sent her
too nice.
Yeah, OP's like, I
Like,
just want these books.
You should not have given those books back
Yeah,
until
no.
you were there knocking on her door
Yeah.
to get those books back.
I sent her one more text message. Admittedly, I was mad and told her I thought it was ridiculous that she couldn't be decent enough to drop off my books. I said I didn't even care about one of them, just one of them was important to me because I had highlighted it, annotated it, and had referenced it in several academic papers. So today, about 3.5 months since her last communication with me, I went to her apartment, I knocked, I saw her look through the peephole and walk away. I waited. I knocked again. She finally opened the door. I politely said, "Hey, I was wondering if I could get my books." She told me she got rid of them and then closed the door in my face. I was so overwhelmed that I kicked her door. I regret this because it was childish, and 2, I think I may have broken my toe. But my second question is also, am I wrong for showing up unannounced at her door and demanding my books? For those of you who read this, I appreciate you. This is a long post. I have cried about this friendship breakup for months, and it has led me to question whether or not I overreacted. My husband and my maid of honor both have said I am not overreacting, but I worry they are saying this to be supportive. I would love to have an outsider perspective. First off, thank you for the overwhelming support. I really didn't expect to get so many nice comments on this. Reading your comments has been so cathartic for me. Thank you, each and every one of you, who took the time to read this post and send some nice words. This was what I needed to move on. I am closing this door and trying to take it as a learning lesson. You can tell who reads and who doesn't in these comments. An extra thank you for those who understand my upset about the book. For those of you who don't, I absolutely understand why you wouldn't get it. I appreciate your comments anyway. A few people have asked if I'm still friends with Mandy. The answer is no. It wasn't a dramatic end like with Allie. I just simply cut contact, which in retrospect is what I should have done with Allie. By the way, don't cut contact with us, because you can listen to full episodes of stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime. But there is a little bit left to this story. Any final thoughts?
I have nothing to add, really. It's a terrible situation, but I don't feel like there's like you did nothing wrong.
You did nothing wrong. You did everything you could to get your books back. She sucks. Get her out of your life and, find better friends.
Yeah.
For those who said I should have seen it coming and asked her to leave a long time ago, I fully appreciate that, and I probably should have. But in between the events I listed, there were so many other times where we had positive interactions that had nothing to do with the wedding. We were good friends and we hung out all the time. So these positive interactions muddied the water for me and made it harder to see her bad behavior. It wasn't until after the wedding that I fully realized that she had actually made every event about her. Some of you have pointed out that I have a hard time setting boundaries, and this is absolutely true. Ironically, Allie had said that to me many times. I am the kind of person that tries to always be understanding of my friends. Maybe that makes me a doormat, but this is not something I plan on changing about myself. I would rather the people who love me know that I will always be there for them, even if some people end up hurting me sometimes. But in the future, I'll try to be aware that some people will take advantage of that. Thank you again. And that is the end of that story. I think that's the takeaway, OP.
Yeah.
I think it's not like closing yourself off from other relationships, but it is,
Being more aware.
just noticing those
Yeah.
red flags when they come up again. My sister-in-law tried to hijack my wedding after I refused to make her a bridesmaid.
It's your wedding now.
Hi all. Wedding planning has been exhausting for me, 24 female, and I'm close to giving up and eloping. I just can't handle all the pressure. My fiance and I have been together for 2.5 years. By the way, this comes from Oracle FX, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. I'm Sophia.
And I'm Riley.
And we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we'd do, so let us know what you would do in the comments. My issues with my future sister-in-law, 26 female, started just after my fiance and I got engaged last year. Future mother-in-law has remarried earlier the same year, and I also think she never expected her little brother to get married before her. She freaked out and pressured her boyfriend to propose, but he wouldn't, and they split for a while before eventually getting back together. For that period, we were not allowed to mention our engagement in front of her, or she would be very rude and passive-aggressive. There was also the issue of the ring. My fiance's family has 2 heirloom rings, one for my fiance and one for future sister-in-law. When my fiance asked his grandparents about it, they could not remember which one future sister-in-law had chosen and called her about it. She couldn't pick which one she wanted, so now both rings were off the table until she decides which one she wants. My fiance said screw that and bought me a different ring, which I love, but the whole situation was hurtful. Now my fiance and I want a very small ceremony and a large reception afterward. We also want a small wedding party. I decided I only wanted 2 bridesmaids, my sister and my best friend. My fiance will have 2 groomsmen, his best friend and my brother. Future sister-in-law is of course invited to the ceremony, but she completely lost it when she realized she wouldn't be a bridesmaid. She called my fiance screaming once, then went into denial and kept texting me about my bridesmaid duties. My fiance called to tell her to leave me alone, and she screamed and hung up. Now, apparently she's been ranting at my future mother-in-law, who is in turn trying to talk my fiance into it. My compromise was that she be on my fiance's side, but I was told by future mother-in-law and future sister-in-law that was unacceptable because it would make the sides uneven and it was untraditional for a woman to be on the groom's side. My fiance got pissed and said that was fine. He didn't want her on his side either, and that she wouldn't be in the wedding party at all. That cued another freak out. I don't want to give in because I know she'll make a day about my fiance and me all about her. She always does. But I'm tired of the wheedling calls from my future mother-in-law to invite her back in. There was already drama with my family since the guest list on my side is very small because we are having a pagan ceremony and I know my family would disapprove. Doesn't what we want matter? I don't know how to handle all this. Thinking of my wedding makes me feel nauseous now. And edit, my fiance has 4 siblings. They are all invited to the ceremony. And relevant comments. Intrepid girl reader, your biggest mistake was offering to let her stand on your fiance's side. Because now it's a question of letting her back in, when she was never really in the wedding party to begin with. I don't want to give in because I know she'll make a day about my fiance and I, all about her. She always does. But I'm tired of the wheedling calls from future mother-in-law to invite her back in. That was OP. It sounds to me like letting your future sister-in-law in your wedding party won't actually relieve any of your stress, but will instead just invite more. This commenter did some basic reading of the story.
I was gonna say, intrepid girl reader, to be certain.
Yeah, she's really good at this. She's like, I don't know if I'm way off base here. Once you cave and let her in the wedding party, your future sister-in-law and future mother-in-law will simply move on to something else and start wearing you down until they get their way again. It sounds like your fiance is on your side, which is great. Stay firm and say the wedding party is already decided and you no longer want to discuss it. End the conversation whenever they try to bring it up, and don't spend your wedding catering to a brat. OP says, yeah, I agree. We were told it was unfair for me to have 2 siblings in the wedding party and my fiance to have none. I can kind of understand that. But at the same time, my fiance chose my brother, not me. And intrepid girl reader back at it again says, if your fiance felt it was unfair that his sibling wasn't included, that would be one thing. It's not unfair to anybody else because nobody is entitled to a spot in your wedding party. If I were you, I'd have my fiance have one final conversation with his sister to tell her that the only 2 bridesmaids will be your sister and your best friend. After that, refuse to engage at all. Lynn's360 says, great advice. There are only 3 parties that get a say in your wedding. You, your fiance, and whoever is helping finance the event. And that last group needs very clear-cut boundaries right from the start so everyone knows where they stand. Not sure if that's applicable here. Beyond that, you tell everyone else to shut the F up and enjoy their cake or pie or fruit lasagna you chose instead. That's your choice to make for your wedding. OP says, this is another issue. We're having our reception at future mother-in-law's house. We are paying the majority of the cost for food and booze, but it is her house. I think she thinks she has some sort of control of the wedding party because of this, but I would think she should only have input on the reception, not ceremony itself. Fluxman222 says, my suspicion is that if she doesn't get to be a bridesmaid, or even if she does, she might try to steal the day by pressuring her boyfriend into another proposal on the day of your wedding. I honestly don't even think he'd do that.
Well, cause she already tried to get him
and they broke
to
up
propose,
over it.
and they broke up over it. He's not proposing at the wedding.
No. You may want to head that off by having a chat with said boyfriend. OP says, my fiance has 4 siblings and none are in the wedding party, all invited to the ceremony. She's the only one upset like this. And there is an update 6 months later.
I do have to say I don't agree with the talking to the sister's boyfriend.
Yeah.
I think
I don't think we need to.
Exactly.
I don't think he's gonna do it.
And so much with like these communicative drama moments, I sometimes feel like the more people you try to like, you're like, oh, well, I should talk to the boyfriend to see if he's gonna like propose. No, just say you're not gonna do it.
Yeah.
Don't worry. Don't worry about whatever Trevor has going on. You know?
And then if he does start getting on one knee, you tackle him. 6 months later. Hello again. It's been hectic, and I finally got the time to update. The wedding was not drama-free, but it was drama-reduced, at least. First, I showed my fiancé, now husband, the post after I finished reading all the comments. He felt awful because he didn't realize how much his sister's behavior was hurting me. We scheduled a lunch in a public place with sister-in-law and mother-in-law. Husband laid down the law, and it was awesome. Nice.
Why?
He basically told her that she would not be in the wedding party. Nice. And that she had no one to blame but herself and her own actions. He raked her over the coals a bit. I can't believe my own family would make what is supposed to be the happiest time in my life frustrating and difficult. Well, I sat in Smug City, Population 1. I then offered the truce that we had agreed upon prior, which was actually a suggestion from my last post. I asked her to be an usher and let her know it was important because we're having a pagan ceremony and people might be confused on how to stand in a circle.
People just don't get it these days. People might be really confused.
People don't know
about
how to stand in a
a
circle. And we know.
And you know.
Yeah.
You love a circle. You know how to put people in a circle.
Oh, good.
I will say,
standing
actually,
in a circle.
I know we're joshing about it.
I know we're joshing.
But
standing a circle, pretty hard.
Not what I was going to say. It's actually incredibly easy for me. I have no problems with it.
I'm so good.
If the sister is a little bit of like, there's this control factor to it, I do genuinely think this is a good job for her. Like,
she
we're
gets to
joking.
tell people where to go.
Exactly. You know, like she gets to feel a little bit powerful. So
whatever makes her feel important and keeps her out of my hair. She's been crying for a lot of this talk, but stopped to ask if she could still wear a bridesmaid dress. I told her absolutely not. She then asked if she could at least get ready with me in the bridal party. That was another no. She started crying more, but mother-in-law clearly understood that this was an olive branch and told her she would be crazy not to accept. She finally did, begrudgingly. Then she went home and posted all sorts of congratulatory things on her Facebook. My eyes about rolled out of their sockets. Fast forward to the wedding. The ceremony was beautiful and went off without a hitch. I had assigned a friend to keep an eye on sister-in-law, but she was on her best behavior during the ceremony. It was really lovely, and I was just so happy. It still makes me happy to think about. And then the reception. The first hour and a half are going great. Everyone's getting suitably boozy and dancing and having a great time. At one point, there was a quiet lull between songs, and I hear a harpy screech. Goddess help me.
Just in case you forgot that they
OP's
were pagan.
Husband started to go wrangle her, but his stepfather steps in and says he'll handle it. He's such a great person. This next part I know only secondhand through the posse that went to deal with her. I just kept dancing it up and pretended I didn't hear it. It turns out that sister-in-law is fighting with her boyfriend again. Apparently, they had planned that he would propose to her at our wedding reception. If you read my last post, you might remember there was drama regarding 2 heirloom rings in my husband's family. By the way, the only drama I've got to tell you about is that you can listen to full episodes of stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime. The plan was that her boyfriend would propose with both rings. Sister-in-law would pick one, and then she would graciously gift me the other as a wedding present. They got into a fight about who knows what, and he decided he wasn't gonna propose. Really, she gave me an amazing wedding gift, an excuse to have them both bounced from the reception. Stepfather called a cab and had them sent home. The reception went on harpy-free and was a blast. We've had pretty minimal contact with her after that. To her credit, she did apologize eventually, but also went on about how hurt she was to be removed from the reception. I let husband deal with that one. We live in a different city, so the most I see of her is Facebook posts, and that's plenty for me now. The holidays are coming up, so that we'll be in contact again, but I'm not worried about how to deal with her. And Relevant Comment says, great expectations. What the effing F? She was gonna have her boyfriend propose to her at your wedding reception and then give you the other ring? Well, la-dee-da. How big of her.
Sister.
Congratulations on your wedding. I wish you a long and healthful marriage. I hope your interactions with her settle over time. OP says she apparently thought it was a way to bring our families closer. Bugs doing things, in the sense that both families would have the, remember the time sister-in-law and her boyfriend did something so tacky and attention grabbing at someone's wedding story in common? Maybe. Sad Crocodile says gobsmacked. Absolutely gobsmacked. I honestly don't have the words to describe how disgusted I am with your sister-in-law's histrionic, self-centered behavior. On the bright side, though, it sounds like you and your now husband, congratulations, make a good team and know how to deal with this entitled brat in the future. The in-laws sound like they'll be pretty tired of her crap soon, too. Enjoy your newly wedded life. And edit, oh, just curious, did sister-in-law's boyfriend end up staying with her after that ridiculous proposal garbage? OP says they're very on and off again. Not sure if they're still together. Deleted, did you know he was going to propose, and were you going to be cool with it? Congrats on your wedding.
Of course. Of course she didn't.
Of course not. No. OP says, we did not know, and we would not have been okay with it if we had. And that's the end of that story, folks.
Wow.
Man, oh man.
If
Yeah.
I were a commenter, I'd be like, oh, hey, congrats. Glad it worked out. Just out of curiosity, how'd the circle look?
Yeah.
Did we get the circle?
Yeah, did she manage the ushering well? That's what I want to know.
My husband's grandparents sued us over a house they squatted in.
That just don't make sense.
My husband, 31 male, John, and I, 28 female, don't live in his home state where most of his family lives. 3 years ago, his mother, Debbie, 56 female, unexpectedly passed away. It was a devastating loss, to say the least. My husband was very close with his mother. His father was completely out of the picture, so she raised him as a single mother and worked 2 to 3 jobs to keep a roof over their head and bills paid. By the way, this comes from Desperate Plum 5772, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I'm Riley.
I'm Sophia.
And we're here to give good advice in a goofy manner, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we would do, so get in those comments. His half-brother Jake, 37 male, wasn't as close to their mother, and from what I understand,
lived with his bio dad and stepmom for most of his upbringing. He and his wife live about 2 hours downstate from Debbie and didn't visit often when she was alive. When we flew out for the funeral, we stayed with John's grandparents, Ron and Linda. Ron is not John's grandfather. He married Linda when Debbie and her siblings were teenagers. As long as I've known John, Ron has made it very clear, without outright saying it, that he holds his children and grandchildren in higher regard than Linda's children and grandchildren. He did not have a kind word to say about Debbie after she passed. He seemed indifferent at best and irritated to have to deal with her estate. He made several insensitive comments regarding the mess she'd left them with during the week that they were there. Ron took over planning everything, and Linda seemingly took the back seat. Ron did not ask John or Jake about funeral preparations or burial information. He would just tell us what was happening. Her funeral is Thursday. She's getting buried in a plot next to ours. This is the casket, and these are the flowers. At the time, it was a relief to my husband because of how overcome with grief he was. It was a nice funeral, and what was truly heartwarming was the number of people who showed up for her. She had so many people who loved her, so many lives she touched. After the funeral, we went to Debbie's house to try and find any important documents. There was confusion about the deed and who was on it, if there were taxes owed or who would pay. Ron implied that he was on the title or deed. It was and still is unclear to us if Ron and Linda were co-signers for the house or on the deed, or what their role was with the house. We were ultimately unable to find any important documentation regarding the estate at Debbie's house. We did discover that Debbie had a roommate, a woman she met through work, who was having a rough time and needed somewhere to go. Debbie was a kind Christian woman who'd really do anything for anyone, so it's no surprise she offered her a room. We flew home and didn't know what was to come of the estate. Because we lived so far away, John and Jake came to an agreement that John would sign whatever rights he had to the estate over to Jake. Jake had his lawyer mail all the paperwork, and it seemed squared away. Jake promised John he wouldn't screw him out of anything. Over the next year and a half, Jake would occasionally give John updates about the house going through the probate process and how they weren't sure what they were going to do with the roommate or if they'd have to file to evict her. Neither Jake nor John could afford to keep the house, even with renting it out. The house was, and still is, in really bad condition. We both have young families and just aren't in a position to fix it up to code. The plan was, once the property was in Jake's name, he would sell it and split the money with John. John's childhood friend passed away during this time, so John flew home for the funeral. When he visited his grandma Linda and Ron made a comment that he was expecting to be paid back $12,000 for the funeral arrangements for Debbie once the house sold. He then asked John if he liked his mother's headstone because he would also have to pay back the $800 that it cost. I hate that setup. I hate that delivery.
No.
Like, money stuff is always weird. I hate the idea of this person being like, do you like your mother's headstone?
Yeah.
Because you're going to pay for it. Like, just ask for the money.
You
Just
don't
talk
have
it
to-
out.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
You don't have, I don't know. I feel like I have like older grandparents and, who they're like things are being made, just the plans are being made and stuff. And it's just so complicated.
John was taken aback because had we known we'd be responsible for the costs, we would have started a GoFundMe. We would have taken over the planning. We barely have the financial means to keep ourselves afloat. John didn't respond and didn't see Ron again during his stay. Jump to a little more than a year ago. Ron was at home and plugged in some faulty appliance, which ended up catching fire and burning their home down. Thankfully, both Ron and Linda were unharmed, but they lost a lot in the fire. Ron and Linda immediately moved into Debbie's house with the roommate who was still living there. They didn't speak with Jake prior to moving in. They didn't ask to move in. They just did. Jake would give John updates and said that Ron treated him how he always had, belittling him and being disrespectful. Jake wasn't willing to put up with it anymore. 8 months later, when Jake finally gained rights to the estate, or it had gone through probate, not sure of the correct terminology, Ron asked Jake if he and Grandma could continue to rent the house for $600 a month while they waited for their own house to be rebuilt. Ron and Linda's house was being rebuilt by Ron's brother, who was a contractor and jack-of-all-trades kind of man. It was taking longer than expected. The walls and roof were up, windows and doors were on, but it wasn't finished. The $600 wasn't enough to cover the monthly expenses of Debbie's property, and the house was not in livable condition. There was mold on the ceilings and walls, it needed a new roof, new appliances, and new windows. Jake ended up taking Ron and Linda and the roommate to court to have them evicted so he could get the property ready to sell. John was made aware of the eviction when Ron messaged him asking if he was going to show up to court too. John responded that he didn't even know about court since we live 1,000 miles away and seized the opportunity to tell Ron just how he felt about it.
He's like, I don't know anything about court. And another thing.
The only court I know is the basketball court. Get ready. Get ready
Let's
for your
settle this on
ankles.
that court.
Yeah, let's settle this on the tennis court,
Yeah.
please. John really aired his grievances with Ron, and Ron was unsurprisingly defensive and dismissive of everything John said. Linda's sister called John and asked why he and Jake were doing this. Ron's son Mason, 50s male, started a group chat with John, Jake, and Debbie's siblings to voice his opinion on how terrible they were for doing this to their grandparents. John's uncle, Debbie's brother Rick, chimed in too about how the boys should be ashamed, and Jake especially. He said Debbie would be rolling in her grave from her own boys doing this to her mother. Those messages really tore John up. He loved his mother and loves his grandmother, but he also supports Jake because neither of us are in the position to keep the house. The court date came and went. Ron and Linda were given a 60-day notice, and that was that. We flew out to visit Linda last month to clear up some of this turmoil and have our 1-year-old son meet that side of the family. Because Linda doesn't really use a phone often, she and John rarely communicate. When we showed up, Ron completely ignored us, didn't say a single word, and stayed in the back bedroom for the duration of our visit. It was a wonderful visit outside of that, watching our son meet his great-grandma. John and Linda spoke briefly about what was going on. John told her how he didn't want to punt her out, that he wasn't doing this to her, and Jake didn't consult him prior to going through with the eviction. There were a lot of tears, but I could tell they both felt better after seeing each other. It's unclear how in the loop Linda actually is, if Ron is just controlling everything and limiting her information, but she did make remarks about how the boys would have lost the house had Ron not paid for it, and that they should just be grateful for that. We saw her a few times after that, but didn't discuss the house. We flew home and felt like a little weight was lifted from our shoulders. Mason messaged the group chat again that he was prepping his trailer for Ron and Linda to live in over the next few weeks while their house got finished, and that he couldn't believe this was happening in our family. John and Jake didn't respond. Today, Jake's lawyer's office reached out to him because Ron and Linda are suing Jake over the funeral expenses and more, claiming they were asked to pay for it. They are also claiming they were co-signers on the mortgage and paid for the house after Debbie passed away, preventing the boys from losing the house. They are suing for roughly $45,000.
Dang. I feel like if they were asked to pay for it and they were planning on suing, they could have just not paid for it, you know?
Well, and they weren't asked to pay for it. That's like, again, the kind of tough thing. And if we're here to give genuine advice, goofily, like, just you have to be so tight on the communication about this stuff. Like, and it sucks because you're right. There's grief. The last thing you want to be thinking about is logistics.
Money.
But, like, you know, for whoever, for OP, for anybody who has to go through something like this, like, God, you just have to get everything watertight.
I just feel like their argument of, like, we were asked to pay $40,000 and now we're going to sue you because we paid that for it. Like, did you even pay $40,000?
I don't know. You can listen to what I do know is you can listen to full episodes, stories just like this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app. Search OK Story. Whatever your favorite one is, go to
That's
it.
the right one.
Okay, I do have some updates.
Yeah.
Do you have any other thoughts, or are we just going straight into this?
Roll straight in.
John was distraught over hearing this. It's so clear that this is not what Debbie would have wanted. All of this turmoil in the family. Passing really does bring out the worst in people. John called his grandma and tried to explain that by suing Jake, they are taking away money from their young family and ours, who have it 100 times harder in this world than they did. Ron and Linda are far from poor. They got a lot of money from the insurance claim on their house, not to mention Social Security and state retirement pensions. Most of the family thinks that we are the a-holes. It's not like Ron and Linda don't have other people they could stay with either. John's uncle Junior, Linda's son, lives 1 mile down the road from them. Linda's sister has an Airbnb 3 hours out of town she could put them up in. Ron has 3 sons, including Mason, who are in the area. Are we the a-holes? No, because I thought about that when Mason was like, well, like, now I have to prep to get the trailer ready for mom and dad.
Why didn't we use that?
They're living in the mold house?
Yeah. Why wasn't that option number 1?
Or the Airbnb?
Or the Airbnb that you guys have.
Sorry,
or just
guys.
Anywhere else.
We've got a bachelorette party coming in. I just can't rent out. I can't let you stay in the Airbnb right now.
That's kind of my man cave.
Yeah.
My brother's fiance hijacked his phone and turned him against our family.
No, he's turning us against us.
And this comes directly from the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I, 30 female, have a younger brother, Ryan, 21 male. He started dating Cammie, 20 female, in late 2024 and brought her to our family Christmas after a few weeks of dating. She was distant, barely said a word, clung to Ryan the whole time, and didn't introduce herself to anyone. It was awkward, but we gave her grace. figured she was shy. By the way, this comes from Virtual Avocado 2406, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. I'm Sophia.
And I'm Angie.
And we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we'd do, so let us know what you would do in the comments. A month later, Ryan asked if Cammie could come to my wedding. We were having a super small, intimate wedding, under 50 guests, and I'd only met her twice. My wife and I had already cut close friends and extended family due to budget. Still, after pressure from my mom and stepdad, we agreed on the condition they pay for her meal. They showed up, stayed 2 hours at the reception, then bailed because Cammie was overwhelmed. We'd already told Ryan it would be a lot for her to meet all of the family at once, but he has insisted it wouldn't be a problem. It was annoying, but we let it go and chose to focus on our night. Then April rolls around and we find out on Facebook they're engaged. They've been together less than 5 months. No one in our family knew. He proposed with only her family present. Ryan is normally super close to us, so yeah, it stung to be left out of something that major. But once again, we let it go. Then the red flags really started waving. Cammie never speaks directly to us at family dinners unless we initiate conversation. She whispers to Ryan like we're strangers or not in the room. Sometimes they would disappear mid-visit because she needs a break, or they just didn't come at all. On Mother's Day, they ghosted my mom entirely, which also happened to be the day my 13-year-old cat passed away.
Oh my God, so much is happening.
Yeah, hope you can't catch a break.
Yeah.
I had gotten her when I was 16, so she was an animal Ryan grew up with too. I was devastated. I didn't even get a text from him. 2 weeks later, he called me to ask for my Disney Plus password because Cammie wanted to watch a show. And yes, I gave it. I was struggling with my mental health big time at this point and just wanted to be the bigger person. Then July rolls around. Ryan called me on Sunday night to say they were having an unofficial wedding with no celebrant or paperwork that Thursday. 4 days notice. It was at 6 p.m., an hour and a half away, and I work full time until 5:30. I asked him to push it back a few weeks so more family could come, especially since her sister was about to give birth and our bio dad was flying down as he lives in another state. Overall, it just seemed really last minute. He ignored those messages and didn't respond. I mean, it feels like he doesn't want y'all there.
Yeah, I feel like
He's purposely trying to
signs-
not have you there.
right.
Turns out it was clearly planned well in advance. Cammie had a full-on wedding dress. Her mom flew in from another state. She had bridesmaids all wearing matching colors. So her family got plenty of notice, while ours got a 4 days heads up. I didn't go in the end after multiple discussions with my mom. I just couldn't support it, even if it was unofficial. My mom made it barely. Still in her pediatric ward scrubs, she threw on her only nice coat, which was unfortunately a darker cream color, but wanted to avoid being photographed in her Hello Kitty scrubs. Cammie waited a few minutes after my mom begged her so that my stepdad, who works 2 hours away, could arrive in time, but was cold and hostile to my mom for the rest of the night. The next day, my mom got vile messages from Ryan's account accusing her of ruining their wedding by wearing cream. The tone and phrasing made it obvious Cammie had written it. My mom was heartbroken. She didn't even have time to change, but she showed up out of love and support. Mom was already stressed out enough with my sister going into labor at any second and her big 50th birthday dinner coming up. So she requested that we all bite our tongues again and just leave it. Then August comes around. My brother had just celebrated his 21st birthday. My dad had bought him a car as his old one had been quite unreliable. Ryan visits our Nana, our bio dad's mom, and he had sold his old car, so he wanted to go pay her back for car repairs she had helped him with. It was her birthday. She asked where Cammie was. Ryan claimed she was at her dad's, but when Ryan went to go find my pop to give him the money, my Nana had looked out the window and saw Cammie sitting in the front seat the whole time. Being the loud ethnic grandma she is, she went out to invite her in. Cammie refused. They left. Not long after, Ryan texted our dad, "Tell your mom she can get effed." Why?
Oh my
Did
God.
you just say, "Hey, do you want to come in?"
Yeah.
What is this guy's problem?
Jeez, dude.
I lost it. Apparently, Cammie claimed Nana said horrible things to her and said she would hit her if she didn't get out of the car. Now, my Nana is more blunt than cruel. She does say wild things sometimes. She's old, loves to have wine in the afternoon, and has no filter. but I've never known her to threaten anyone. And in my own experience, I was in a harmful relationship for years before I met my wife. The worst she ever said to my ex was, "Why are you taking my granddaughter away from me?" I messaged Ryan and told him I was disgusted and disappointed. Lying to Nana, disrespecting her on her birthday, and sending that kind of message after everything she'd done for him financially and emotionally. I told him to grow the F up, that he couldn't keep burning bridges with people who support him just because Cammy feels uncomfortable. Then, surprise, Cammy responded from his phone, not even hiding it. She accused me of never supporting Ryan, of never making plans with him, of not understanding their boundaries, and acted like I'm some outsider who's never tried. She claimed they don't lie and said I was attacking them for simply having feelings. So I fired back. I wasn't talking to her, and I was talking to my brother. I did make an effort. I invited them to Easter dinner and offered to pay for fuel. I messaged them when my cat passed away. I reached out more than once. I pointed out that I work full-time, study full-time, and yeah, maybe I don't always reach out, but neither does he. Relationships are a two-way street. She's been part of our family for less than a year. She does not get to act like she knows him better than the rest of us. And texting him from his account to insult people, his parents, his grandmother, his siblings, is controlling and manipulative. If she wants to attack me, she can do it from her own damn phone. I also told her, just because you or Ryan feels something doesn't mean everyone else has to agree. Feelings are valid, but so is everyone else's right to set boundaries when they feel disrespected. Her response, "Get effed." Then she blocked me from Ryan's Facebook. This has been boiling for months, and I finally snapped. Now I'm being told I should have just let it go, but I'm done being the bigger person while my family gets walked all over. Now a couple family members think I went too far and should have just let my parents deal with it. My mom is asking me to apologize and smooth things over before our next Christmas. But after nearly a year of emotional manipulation, ghosting, double standards, and straight up hostility, I'd had enough. I finally said what everyone else was too scared to say. So am I the a-hole for finally snapping and calling them out, even if it caused a massive blow up? And there are some comments. Comment 1 says, not the a-hole. Cammy is very controlling and manipulative. They haven't even been together a year. And your under 21 brother marries this girl in an alleged fake wedding where her entire family was invited. She had a full-on wedding dress with bridesmaids and the works. I forgot he was under 21.
Me too.
I forgot that. Honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like she's manipulative
Yeah.
and he's very naive and he's just kind of,
Yes.
yeah. Yet Ryan doesn't send invites in advance. He texts you 4 days beforehand and expects everyone to show up on a work day? Ryan has allowed Cammy to lie about his family, burn bridges with his grandma, and he's allowed this vindictive witch to disrespect his entire family as he does nothing. Your mother is doing herself no favors by allowing this behavior to continue. It won't change the predictable outcome. This relationship will only end one of two ways. Either Ryan wakes up from the harmful relationship he is in, or he stays with his a-hole through kids, cheating, and more abuse. Through it all, your family will end up getting cut out anyway. So you apologizing now will only fuel Cammy to act even more unhinged. What you and your family need to do is get Ryan on his own, or even with crazy Cammy, and have a conversation. If she's there, it probably will turn into an argument because she will just make crap up. But if you can get him on his own, you may be able to get what the F is happening from him. Or it could be that he is fully on board with how she's acting, and he's just as much of a douchebag as he is. Sit down with your mom and let her know you won't be apologizing. She also needs to stop allowing Ryan and Cammy to treat her like crap. They're not doing anyone any favors. Ryan is an adult who is choosing to allow his girlfriend of a year to blow up his relationship with his family. If that's what he wants, then that's what he can have. And that is the end of the story. Yeah, it doesn't seem like the best situation for anyone.
Yeah.
But, you know, stay out of it as much as you can.
Yeah.
My friend made me pay for everything at her wedding, all the while talking bad behind my back.
Yeah, it's like she did pay for this, but she smelled bad.
She didn't pay enough of it. I was asked to be maid of honor by a friend of mine who I've had a rocky past with. She doesn't really have anyone close in her life that lasts longer than a few years. And she also changes jobs every few months because she is high conflict and causes drama constantly. She thrives off of it. By the way, this comes from Schmeg the Meg, and you can submit your stories at r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, in hindsight, I should have said no, especially knowing this was her and the groom's third engagement, so off and on. But I agreed and took everything so seriously. Bridezilla was an understatement. She changed the members of the bridal party 5 times, so I had to constantly track down new people. Her bridal shower had to be this one very specific country club that was extremely expensive. She changed the date of the actual wedding and forgot to tell me for months. And it was on a Friday, so I had to request off work. Nothing I bought was good enough, and she always requested more. She changed my dress color after I bought it. She also just stopped talking to me unless it was about the wedding and had no idea what was going on in my personal life. I paid for just about everything because the people she kept inviting in the bridal party were younger than us. Early 20s. I'm 27. The bride is 33 and has no stable income. I have a good job and I'm really smart with my money, but even for me, it was really difficult. I'm talking about $6,000 on this dang wedding as maid of honor. I'm trying to plan my own soon as well. Well, the day of the wedding comes. I make sure she had a bunch of custom gifts, a day off bag, my speech was beautiful, etc. But she was so rude to me the entire day. She has a new BFF she met about 4 months before the wedding, and they are attached at the hip, and all she wanted to do was talk to her. But whatever. I was super busy handling everything, so I tried to ignore it. Riley, who's the a-hole here?
Dude, OP.
Who's the a-hole here?
OP. Come on.
The wedding comes and goes. She leaves to go to the after party with her new BFF, and I stayed behind to clean up the entire venue with the help of my boyfriend after, and we go home. Well, I get a call today from her cousin who was also in the wedding party, who I really bonded with over this awful experience. She told me that she didn't want to say anything to me, but she thinks I deserve to know because I'm already buying Christmas gifts for the bride and her kids.
Whoa.
Her cousin tells me that every time I left the bridal suite the day of the wedding, the bride would announce to everyone in the room that she couldn't stand me. I wish she weren't even here. I'm so effing annoying. She also has a separate group chat with her sisters and cousins and continues to talk crap on me there. Mind you, she just sent me a Christmas list for her kids last week. Everything's already bought and wrapped. I feel so hurt and so used, and honestly really stupid. I just blocked her on everything. I don't want to even message her because I know she'll somehow twist it around and make it my fault. Edit to add. I'm seeing a lot of comments saying this is on me for missing/ignoring red flags, and I 100% agree. I should have gone more into the backstory, but it's super complicated and long, so I left it out. I used to be the stepmother of her oldest son. So, her ex is also my ex, and he's a huge piece of crap. But that's a story for another day. And I'm extremely bonded to the kiddo. I was in his life from 9 months old, and she's allowed me to be involved in his life for the past 4+ years.
Yeah, because you keep buying stuff for him.
Yeah, maybe that's why. Maybe she doesn't like you. Maybe she likes using you, obviously.
Yep.
Even after I left the relationship. He's 7 now. So a huge part of me feels this immense, incredible debt to her. And I will always appreciate her keeping me in her son's life. She didn't have to do that. But as my friend, kids aside, she's incredibly selfish and toxic. I should have made better boundaries and kept my guard up. But wow, that's easier said than done when kids are involved. Edit to add number 2. I also meant that I spent $6,000 on the bridal shower /bachelorette /gifts, etc. I did not pay for the actual wedding venue itself, but $6,000 of my own money still for wedding related things. Edit to add 3. I appreciate everyone's advice. I was more or less venting on this post. I know I'm not blameless in this and definitely let it drag on too long because I was/am scared that once I upset Bridezilla, I lose access to being part of her children's lives. However, I agree that it's not healthy for me to continue to be in contact with her, and her children are better off seeing me being used as a doormat by their mother. I blocked her number and I do not plan on interacting with her ever again. Time to just move on and focus on my own healing for once. We have an update.
I'm so glad you realized that.
It took the entire internet to tell you.
Yeah, I was wondering why she didn't like you, but that makes more sense. How'd you get wrapped up into this?
I really think she did what I said earlier because you did something with her ex, all that stickiness, literally, she's making you pay for everything.
Yeah.
And you don't owe this woman a nickel.
Don't. You really don't, OP.
Update. Hi everyone. This post definitely blew up more than I was expecting, so I wanted to give a quick update. After this happened, a few things that some of you said to me really stuck with me. I was looking at all this from the perspective of not wanting to lose access to the children of the bride, who I love deeply. But I was not realizing that by allowing their mother to treat me poorly, that I was modeling for the kids how to treat their own loved ones. That really was a light bulb moment for me, and I realized I needed to cut ties. I initially told her that I needed space from her because of the way she has treated me as a friend, which she did not take well. And I had to block her number and delete her off social media to stop her from berating me with text. Once I did that, it was insane how much better I felt. I truly didn't realize how much time and energy she took out of me every single day. I felt like a literal weight was lifted from my chest, and I wasn't filled with anxiety about whatever drama she constantly call/text me about. I had no idea how much she had slowly taken from me across the course of our friendship. It was like being free of an emotional vampire. However, despite feeling so much better, I still felt that I needed closure regarding the kids, who I do love and miss. I needed to know in my heart that I did everything I could for them to know none of this is their fault. I decided to drop off the presents I already bought at their front doorstep and left a note letting her know that I was informed she spoke poorly about me in front of her children during the wedding day, and that I simply cannot accept that disrespect anymore.
There we go, OP. There we go. All right. I like this.
Good.
I like this.
It was very short and sweet, and I didn't go into much more detail than that. I also told her I had no interest in rekindling any type of friendship, that this was my closure, and I do not want her to contact me any further. Apparently, she immediately took to social media and began making dozens of posts, TikTok videos, denying everything, as well as involving the kids in the videos. OP says it's so sad. Trash talking me and calling me a narcissist, which is laughable, honestly, and it's her go-to insult for anyone who wrongs her. I had friends send me a few in disbelief, and while I appreciated being informed, I asked them not to send me any more because I really don't care. And I don't want to give her the satisfaction of knowing I saw any of them. And by the way, you can have the satisfaction of listening to us on our podcast. Just look us up on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Search OK Storytime and you can find stories just like this. Heck, we just added another one.
We did. And very nice of you to give the gifts, the kids.
You didn't need to do that.
Let them know they're not a part of this.
No.
Confronting her. Hoo-wee.
Do you think she told the kids? Because she didn't give it to the kids. The mom probably got the
not.
gifts and was like, oh, she gave us the gifts. And then she read the letters like, no, the gifts are yours.
I'd probably try to keep the kids out of it.
I mean,
let
she
them know I
tried to.
still love them.
She tried to.
But hey, they'll realize one day.
You
They'll
did
realize
all
one day.
you could, OP.
Yeah.
But the best thing you can do is just get away from this
Monster.
Honestly, I just feel so bad for the kids, and I feel nothing but pity for their mother. How sad to be 33 years old, and instead of spending time on Christmas morning with your children, you're making TikTok videos to try and upset me, and failing at it. Anyway, that's my update. I'm glad to finally put all of this behind me. I feel like I've closed that chapter of such a chaotic and drama-filled portion of my life. If any of you are dealing with a person like this in your lives, get out. Life is so much better without them in it to drag you down.
Yeah.
I promise you. And that's the end of that story.
Seeing that story, dang. Good for you, OP. I'm glad you realized that. And we're a beacon of hope for others in this situation.
Yeah, you can love from afar.
Yep.
You don't need to deal with that anymore.
That's right. And we got another story for you guys.
My jealous best friend spread lies about me after my wedding, and nobody defended me.
That's a terrible best friend. That's not your best friend
Yeah,
anymore.
sounds like
That's
your
your
best-
best enemy.
Benemy. I am 35 years old and just got married this past October to my fiance of 11 years. A little backstory, I work in human resources. I met my best friend working together 4 years ago. Let's call her Patricia. By the way, this comes from user Standstill89. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. Patricia and I would spend every weekend together and always texting and on the phone together. I was there for her when she was leaving her abusive ex and put myself at risk to help move her stuff while he was at work. Well, during the course of our relationship, Patricia became mutual friends in my friend group. I introduced her to everyone, and eventually we would all become a big friend group. So when my husband had proposed to me, I naturally chose her as my maid of honor. I had chose her as she was my best friend and some of my other close girlfriends. Patricia did some planning of my bachelorette in Las Vegas and my bridal shower. It was mainly me planning it, but at her house as she had the space. There was some drama with my bridesmaids group as some of my other girlfriends were upset I did not choose them. I selected my bridesmaids out of if they were able to financially handle the cost of being a bridesmaid, as I did not want anyone to burden themselves financially for me. One of my close girlfriends was upset by this, but I had explained to her gently that I knew her husband would not allow her to participate. He is very traditional Southeast Asian, and I didn't want to cause hardship on them. Well, out of the girlfriends who was not a part of our mutual friend group, but is friends with my sister and I, she was upset by me not selecting her as a bridesmaid. Let's call her Sarah. Sarah never expressed to me that she was upset by this. I only found out later. Sarah was friends with my sister-in-law and my sister first. I'm not originally from this area. I moved down to this area 5 years ago. So Sarah and my family had a falling out, and while I was living away, I heard about all the drama that Sarah had caused. When I moved down to my new area, I told myself I would not be friends with Sarah. But my sister made up with Sarah and kept bringing her around, which eventually I ended up becoming friends with her as well. My sister-in-law wanted nothing to do with Sarah, and I always kept Sarah at a distance as I did not want drama. Maybe that was wrong of me, but I did not trust Sarah like that, and she is closer to my sister. In my brain, why would I choose Sarah when we weren't close and she's closer to my sister? Well, I had my bridal shower this past August. I had invited a lot of people, including Sarah. Sarah had offered to make some desserts for my party, and when Sarah had arrived, she helped set up, and we took photos of everything, and everything seemed normal. In the middle of the party, Sarah disappeared. My sister asked me if I knew that Sarah had left, and I told her no. She didn't say anything to me. I called Sarah, but she didn't pick up. Later, she sent me a text that her stomach was upset, so she had left. I left it at that and didn't think much about it. After my bridal shower was over, my maid of honor, Patricia, texts in our friend group that her boyfriend of less than a year had proposed to her after my party. So I was so happy for Patricia because of her previous relationship and glad that she found someone new. Even though it was very soon, it's normal in our culture to get married quickly. I chose to marry outside of the culture, so mine took me 11 years. I figured that their wedding probably won't be for a while, so I wouldn't have to worry about her wedding right now. I wanted to treat her like a queen, but with my wedding coming up, it just wasn't possible to focus on both. Well, Patricia stops helping me with my wedding plans and even fails to bring the bridesmaids bouquets the night before rehearsals. Patricia got culturally married 2 weeks before my wedding. She got engaged in August and then married in October 2 weeks before mine. Come on, Patricia. Patricia.
Do we need to do all that?
I attended her wedding. I took pictures with her and I celebrated with her and showered her with love. I had expressed to some of my friends that I thought it was a little strange she chose for it to be so soon to my wedding. I have been planning this for over a year, but I was still happy for them all the same. I was just sad that I couldn't treat her to a bachelorette party or got to go dress shopping with her. I was finalizing my guest list for my wedding and reaching out to guests if they were still coming. I had gone on Facebook Messenger and noticed that Sarah had deleted me off of Facebook. I messaged Sarah about what's going on, and she said to me that she's going to go find people who love her and no longer wanted to be my friend.
So dramatic.
Sarah said,
I'm going on a journey to find people who love me.
It's like making the live like the public Facebook post being like, my best friendship with OP is canceled. My new best friend is Victoria, and she lives in a way cooler place. I had called Patricia about this, and Patricia said to me that she's going to go add Sarah just to troll her. Patricia said that Sarah is ugly and weird and that she was going to get me the tea. I should have stopped her, but I didn't say anything. I just laughed about it, not knowing that Patricia was scheming her own agenda.
What's she trying to do here? Sarah's already gone. Like, do we really need to go after her?
I don't know. I guess, well, let's see. Patricia may have her own agenda here. The day of my wedding, Patricia shows up late in her Hello Kitty pajamas. I'm running around getting ready, and Patricia is nowhere to be found. I kept asking my other bridesmaids, where's Patricia? And no one knew. Patricia eventually shows up in the dressing room before we walk down the aisle. She delivers a beautiful speech about her and I being soulmates and sisters for life. The wedding was beautiful, and I was so blessed. I was at an all-time high. Look at me and all my girls. Who gets to say that they had 6 bridesmaids and we all went to Vegas together and we're all friends? A week later, my new husband and I leave for our honeymoon. We spent 2 weeks in Italy and we had an amazing time. During our time there in Italy, I was frequently sending pics to my friends group and no one was responding. You can see that they saw my message, but no one was saying anything. I didn't think too much into it, figuring my friends didn't want to bother us while we were on our honeymoon. When we had returned back to the States, I'd wanted to get together with Patricia and give her a gift. I had gotten her a custom mask from Venice. It had all her favorite colors and it was beautiful. I wanted to give it to her in person, but Patricia kept blowing me off. First, she said she was sick, and then she was hosting Thanksgiving early, and then it was her helping another friend move, all in one weekend. I started questioning why she was avoiding me. I texted my friends group and no one responded back. It started feeling like a hostile energy and I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't figure it out. I had went to get my nails done and my nail tech tells me, quote, I just saw Sarah, and Sarah showed me messages from Patricia. Patricia was texting her the day of your wedding about how you were being so terrible to them and that she hated being there. She also proceeded to tell me that Sarah was invited to Patricia's Friendsgiving and that she had hosted while I was overseas. I later found out that this party was a bashing party about me. I don't ask much from my friends, and I didn't even ask much out of my bridesmaids. I didn't even say anything about her getting married 2 weeks before me. In reality, Patricia barely did anything but carry the title of maid of honor. I defended Patricia to my nail tech, and I told her, Patricia is probably trolling, trying to get a rise out of Sarah. Little did I know, the reason why my friend group was not messaging me was due to Patricia telling all of them that I never wanted any of them. And only chose them out of pity.
And you're telling me none of them went to go and talk to you and check up on that? Come on, those are bad friends.
Yeah.
Those are bad friends. If
No.
if I had a friend come up to me and be like, all of your friends hate you, they never actually wanted you to be in, like, you know.
It's like
I don't have
everyone's,
the
I feel like
accurate-
that's like low-key, maybe not everyone's, but that's like low-key my greatest fear. Is that like,
All your friends hate you?
well, it's, yeah, just that I'm living in some sort of like alternate reality in my head that's like nowhere near close to reality.
Yeah, the thing
Where it's
is,
like, I'm like, oh, I have my friends and they like me and we get along. And it's like, but secretly they're just like all like, God, no, we had to put up with that guy again. And it's like,
personally,
God,
I
we're
think
the worst thing ever.
as a person who I like, if I don't like someone, probably won't know, but I won't hang out with them. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm only hanging out with people consistently who I actually like, and that is true for most people.
Right?
depending on
I
the
feel like
circumstances.
that's the best way to go about that. Patricia tells them that she and I were never best friends. And I couldn't even give her 2 minutes to be happy for her wedding. Patricia hosted a bashing party and everyone knew except me. This news absolutely devastated me, so I messaged Patricia about her now becoming friends with Sarah and asking what had happened. Patricia responds to me that she can be friends with whoever she wants, and that maturity is being able to accept that not everyone is going to like everyone in a circle. I told her that she wasn't being mature. She was being petty. She obviously disagreed. I had tried to explain to her that I wanted to talk this out and move on so we can focus on other things, but she was simply not interested. I asked her why she would do that to me and become friends with the same girl who deleted me and Patricia had called ugly and weird. Clearly, Patricia was feeling some type of way about me already. The reason I could not find Patricia during my wedding was due to her bashing me to my officiant about how I was not happy for her new marriage and that we were not friends. My officiant later told me about this and said I should had not chose Patricia.
Hey, probably a bad choice there. And I'm just like,
Yes.
yeah, I know.
God, could you have maybe told me, I don't know, a little sooner? Which is like what I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to tell you immediately that you can listen to full episodes with stories like this. All you have to do is go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts from, and search OK Storytime. Let's finish this story. I told Patricia that I cannot pretend to go back to normal after we failed to have a civil conversation. I think what hurts me most is that my best friend of 4 years did this to me, and that not one of my friends had stood up for me. The last few months, I have spent time by myself, learning to love myself again and being alone. I spent time crying and doing a pros and cons list about myself to figure out what I did to deserve this. Oh, you don't need to do that. I really don't feel like you did anything to deserve this. But I mean, it is a good exercise to reflect on the self and
Yeah, see,
maybe
like,
try to see things that we weren't
What are
able to
the
see
type
about
of-
ourselves before. But
yeah.
I'm fortunate for my husband and my sister, comma, and there's nothing. I'm gonna freestyle the end of that story.
Yeah.
She's gonna go on to say exactly what I said, which was that she's gonna focus on her hobbies and her family.
You got this,
Mm-mm-mm.
OP. You got this. And that's it. My brother-in-law ruined my sister's wedding over me wearing a suit.
We only allow gender norms at this wedding.
My 25 non-binary sister, 26 female, recently got married to her now husband, 25 male. It was a beautiful wedding, and I'm happy for both of them. The two of them really make each other happy, and you could see that in how they looked at each other throughout the entire ceremony and reception. Unfortunately, the husband's brother was not quite as serene as either of them. By the way, this comes from your paramedic 8736, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I'm Sophia.
And I'm Angie.
And OP says the two each had 5 people as part of their wedding parties. Their best friends were the maid of honor, 28 female, bridesmaid, and siblings filled out most of the bridesmaids, groomsmen, the groom as a brother and a sister, and the bride as 2 brothers and me. The groom's brother and my 2 brothers were groomsmen, along with the bridesmaid and one of the groom's other friends. Myself, the groom's sister, and 2 of the bride's friends joined the maid of honor for the rest of her party. Oh, sorry, I've been saying bridesmaid. It's best man. The groomsmen, including the best man, all were asked to wear gray suits with a green tie and a neutral undershirt that matched the suit. The base outfit for bridesmaids was a green or gray dress, your choice, that seemed generally like it might work at a medieval or Ren fair. Their wedding has some light medieval theming, so while there was no expectation for historical accuracy, the idea was that these would at least sort of match the theme. I was matching the groomsmen while the maid of honor wore an all-green suit that looked phenomenal on her with a gray tie, so basically the inverse. The best man was given the same option to invert the colors as the maid of honor, but decided he'd rather wear gray than green. We also used fake swords to make a tunnel for the couple to walk under when leaving the altar.
That's so sick.
Sick.
That is amazing.
That's awesome. I
Oh
want
my
that.
gosh.
All of the groomsmen, plus me, the maid of honor, and the officiant had fake swords as part of our outfits. It was a ton of fun. We looked amazing, and it seemed to fit in well with the overall theme of the wedding. I generally am read as female, but identify as non-binary and try to present myself more masculine. The maid of honor is a butch sapphic. Neither of us felt comfortable wearing a dress, which the bride and groom were both very accepting and supportive of, which is why we were wearing suits. Throughout the entire wedding, both of them were wonderful about this. In fact, my sister made sure to bring up potential alternatives for all members of the wedding party if they wanted a different presentation when discussing the dress code. They were proactive about finding options because they knew this would happen. Most of the bridal party, including both of my brothers, the bride's and groom's friends, the best man, and the groom's sister, were at least accepting of the 2 of us wearing suits, as well as both sets of parents. I'm not going to say everyone was as accepting as the couple was, because that would be a lie. Especially with the parents, you could tell there was some confusion about us not wearing dresses. Still, they were all tolerant enough that no one mentioned it, except for the groom's brother. From the start, he tried to comment on how it really should be suits and dresses, and seemed concerned about it not being the case. This wasn't all that surprising to me, given he generally doesn't use my pronouns, though we'll use my chosen name because I won't respond if he doesn't. The bride shut it down quickly, but he kept bringing it up through planning. The first major incident was during pictures. We didn't take most photos during the wedding itself, especially when it came to the wedding party or immediate family photos, so we wouldn't have to fit that somewhere in the big day. Almost all of the photos we had from the day of were candidates, plus a handful in front of the altar. We started with group photos for each of the couples, plus their entourage, then some larger ones of the whole party. A couple of the group photos were trying to do everyone as close together rather than the spread out mirrors that wedding photos typically take the form of, so there were multiple rows based on height and such. The brother-in-law refused to stand next to the maid of honor when the photographer positioned them together for framing purposes because he thought the maid of honor wouldn't dress appropriately, so it would look bad for him to stand next to her. The photographer jumped into action and swapped some of them around, and we got on with it. The next incident was at the rehearsal dinner. They had an order for us to walk down the aisle together with bride's friends matched with groomsmen. These were again largely based on things like height and framing order, so we would all be seen during the ceremony to make sure none of us would be blocked by decorations or other bridal party members. I managed to be paired next to the brother-in-law, not the brother-in-law. He sucks.
Oh, man.
Which he also refused to do because he didn't want it to look like he was dating a groomsman. I want to again stress these pairings were based on a height organization and not coupling people up. Case in point being the sapphic maid of honor walking down the aisle next to the straight best man, and both knowing it meant nothing. They swapped a couple of people around, but now the other bridesmaids were refusing to be paired with him. His sister and the other 2 bridesmaids, both of whom were in long-term relationships, were uncomfortable walking with him if he was going to treat it as them coupling them up. In the end, we had the bridal party walk down, alternating bride's friends and groomsmen, with the maid of honor and best man still walking together. The third and big one was during the reception. After the first dance, father-daughter dance and mother-son dance, we had a bridal party dance scheduled before the main dancing opened. Basically, the bridal party and their SOs would get a special dance, like it wasn't any type of internal pairs or anything. All of the bride's friends had their SOs, but brother-in-law and one of my brothers are currently single, so stood off to the side. Both were already a little wasted and started tossing out comments. No, keep it together, people.
Come on, it doesn't
Just
affect
one day.
you. Literally, it's just one day. You don't ever have to see this person again.
Yeah, they started lighthearted enough, some friendly ribbing that got laughs from the crowd as well as the people they were joking about, and everyone seemed to be having a good time. You know, fairly standard, well-meaning sibling banter. But they got progressively meaner as the song went on, until the big one, my brother-in-law. At least they didn't force me to walk down the aisle with that D slur or my name. Everyone suddenly went silent, and those of us on the floor stopped dancing, and the groom shouted, "The F is wrong with you." To make a long story short, the best man, both the groomsmen who were dancing, and my partner ended up tossing the brother-in-law out on his butt. Based on a black eye he was sporting the next morning, at least one of them also clocked him hard,
Wow.
though I'm not sure which one. They took him out of sight, so none of us quite saw what happened next. But the rest of the night was awkward, and me and the maid of honor, plus our partners, ended up ducking out early, as we kept getting stares and comments. Why are they staring at you? Mind your own business. Stare at the
That
bride.
really sucked.
In particular, a couple of other guests were now emboldened to comment on our attire, and it just wasn't worth the energy, especially given some of those people didn't know me prior to this, so effectively were introduced to me by my name. Oh, that's terrible. I didn't want to spend my sister's entire wedding correcting people about my name. The couple hasn't talked to brother-in-law since this. I don't think they're planning on cutting him off altogether, but are hoping to distance themselves for long enough that he gets the point. Maid of honor and I went with our partners to a local drag bar after the wedding and got really wasted and had some fun after it all. There we go.
There you go.
All you needed was a little drag. The four of us are treating my sister and her new husband to a dinner at a nice-ish restaurant next week. We still want to celebrate them, given they've been wonderful to us and we missed much of the reception. And there is an update, folks. You got any thoughts?
It's, of course, it's just like, listen, you know, I know people can't always be like the most accepting of things.
Yeah.
And of course it's frustrating when, you know, you are accepting of these things, and it's frustrating that people can't see the things the way you do. But at the same time, it's like, even if you don't accept it, or if you think it's weird, or you're not just used to knowing people like that, let them be. They're still not affecting you
Yeah.
at all. So it's
Just don't. I mean, like, the same sense of, like, I feel like when we're younger, you know, you have someone who maybe was missing a limb or something that you see on the street, and your parents are like, okay, we don't stare.
yeah.
We don't go up to them and say, what happened? You
Right.
know?
You have to be taught
It's
not
the
to do
same
that.
thing, parents. You don't stare.
Exactly.
Don't point at them and go, why are you wearing a suit?
Exactly.
They're wearing a suit because they're wearing a suit.
right.
It's clothes.
Based on like them and their personal style, it'd probably be weird if they were wearing a dress. Probably look a lot weirder.
Yeah.
So come on.
Update. Turns out it was the best man who gave the brother-in-law the black eye. How did we find out? Brother-in-law decided to press charges. Best man pled guilty and took a low-level deal with a bit of community service. No one's mad at him for what he did. Since then, brother-in-law has continued to pester me, maid of honor, and our respective partners for embarrassing him. He said if that we acted like bridesmaids should, none of this would have happened. The issue wasn't him being queerphobic, despite him using a slur and naming me. It was us for not wearing dresses. Yes, of course.
right.
You can't put it on yourself. You gotta put it on everyone else.
Yeah.
We obviously can see the BS and aren't buying it. At first, our plan was just to let it blow over. It's not like either of us is unfamiliar with this sort of crap. However, as time passed and it became clear he wasn't letting up, other family members also started to distance themselves from him. This has only made the pesterment worse, as he now blames us for ruining his relationship with his family. By the way, you can be family with us if you listen to full episodes of stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime. Which brings me to the big update. The maid of honor and I are looking into getting restraining orders against him.
Oh.
Woo! It's gotten to the point where the pesterment is disrupting our lives enough
Wow.
for us to think it's worth it. Preferably our partners would also be covered, but given most of the pesterment has targeted us, the goal is to get at least the two of us protected. We're already speaking with a lawyer. They okayed this post so long as I didn't share specific details of the pesterment, but said that once we start the process, I should go silent here for a while. Their main concern isn't whether the actions meet the standard for one, but rather if courts will accept the motivation, queerphobia, as we live somewhere without many protections for queer people targeted for their identities. I wish you luck, and I hope that you do get that restraining order, because this guy stinks.
Yeah.
He's the worst.
He's pestering you, and he just has all of this like hate for you. And we already know that he has gotten into a physical altercation.
Yes.
We don't know, how much he contributed to that, but I wouldn't put it past him to do something potentially dangerous.
I agree.
I think that's a great move. My friend made my dress shopping revolve around her, and I've had enough.
It's my dress.
Late 2025 bride here. I chose my bridal party extremely early on. Of course, I'm changing all names, but my bridal party consists of maid of honor, Josie, bridesmaids, Gabby, Samantha, Sam, Alex, Ava, and Kayla. Trying to make a very long story short, Alex started trying to cause trouble before any plans were even set in stone, other than the wedding date. I'm not putting up with it for my wedding, so Alex was taken out of the bridal party. I replaced her with my cousin Gwen. By the way, this comes from No Squash 5483, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. And I'm Angie.
I'm Sophia.
And we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. So let us know if you do, or if you've been in this situation, what would you do? Put it in the comments. So OP says, Gwen wasn't originally in simply due to the fact that we hadn't spoken in years. She's on my bio dad's side, and I had cut all contact with them because of his toxic behavior. My dad is sober now and is trying to have a relationship with me, and my cousin and I are now as close as we were when we were younger. So, easy switch, no big deal. Well, a month ago, I purchased my wedding dress and set up an appointment for bridesmaids dress shopping. I made a group chat with everyone and let them all know. I let my maid of honor know a day or two before everyone else because she has a 5-month-old and needed to plan her schedule. The dress shop, honestly any dress shop, is 2 hours away from us. Josie offered to drive her vehicle and said that she would have 3 seats available as she might have to bring her son. I said that was fine and we would figure out carpooling once I let all the other girls know. After I let everyone know, Josie said that she had to have someone ride with her. I said that that was also fine because I don't have the room in my car. We figured out someone to ride with her, and then she asked if she could bring her boyfriend to watch her kid while she drove. I said that I would have to check with everyone and make sure that they were comfortable. No one spoke up and said that they weren't comfortable, so I told Josie that it seemed to be fine. Most of the girls wanted to ride with me because they weren't comfortable driving to a bigger city. She told me that her son has silent reflux and could get choked in a car ride. Oh, wow. Up until that point, all she had said was that he hates car rides and would scream the whole way. So she wanted someone qualified to ride with her. As we were trying to figure out a plan, she told me that she had a solution. She said that her mom would let us take her van, but I would have to drive it. I was obviously not comfortable with this as her mom's van is brand new. She said that she could drive, but I would have to watch her baby. Before I even got a chance to respond, she switched to saying that she couldn't drive. She needed to be the one watching her baby. There was a whole lot of back and forth, but basically, she wanted someone to drive her and her screaming 5-month-old the entire way to a big city. She wanted them to use their car and was not going to offer any gas money. The only bridesmaid who had not claimed a seat in my car has a heart problem and can't drive until it's figured out. Her solution for her boyfriend driving also wouldn't have worked because he wouldn't drive her to a big city. All of it was very weird to me. It ended up that she went to a new doctor and her son was put on medicine, so she said that she could now drive her and Kayla, who can't drive due to her heart. Our bridesmaid's appointment was yesterday. Friday evening, Josie calls me to tell me that she freaked out and invited her mother to go with us. Please keep in mind, at the beginning of this whole situation, Josie said that her mom couldn't watch her baby because she had an event. So I relent and tell her it's fine, whatever. Around 11:30 Friday night, Gwen calls me. She is dating Kayla's younger brother, so they are around each other a lot. Gwen said that Kayla was uncomfortable riding with Josie because Josie had invited her entire family. What? I was shocked. All Josie had said was her mom, but apparently she was bringing her mom, her younger brother Jorge, and his fiance Lori, and her 3 younger siblings, plus her baby. Josie was also texting me about the restaurant that we were going to eat at, asking if I had made a reservation because, quote, her group wouldn't be willing to wait for a table. Her group?
Now it's a whole group?
Yeah, I mean, this is huh? The restaurant we were eating at does not do reservations, so I let her know this, and she stated that they may not be able to eat with us then.
You shouldn't even be there.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're probably not willing to wait because there's so many of you guys, and that's gonna take forever
a whole
to find a
village.
table. I told Kayla she was welcome to ride with me as I had 1 seat left since Sam couldn't go due to work. At this point, I had given up on the argument with Josie. We finally get to the dress shop when Josie calls me to ask where we are. We had about an hour and a half until the appointment. I had just pulled into the dress shop to plan where we were going to go nearby while we waited to waste time until the appointment. She decided to go to a store down the road and then hit PetSmart. I told Josie this, and she got an attitude with me about how she was at the mall because she thought that that's where we were supposed to meet. I told her that we were going to the mall, but I believed that we were going to do it after, as the mall was 10 minutes from the store. By the time we got there, we would probably have 40 minutes to shop because we would have to leave again. I explained that it would be easier to hit the 2 shops 5 minutes away and have more time in each of them, and then we could go to the mall afterwards. Her whole plan was for her family to shop at the mall while we were at the dress shop. She asked me if I had an extra seat available, and I told her I did not. Which was true. We were packed in like sardines. She said, okay, and I said that once we decide which store we're going to first, I'll shoot her a text and let her know. We got off the phone, and me and the other girls decided our plan. I texted her as soon as we decided. The response I got from her was that she was no longer going to go dress shopping with me. Really?
After all this.
That is crazy. She said that she came to spend the day with me and had done everything to make sure that she got there, but I couldn't expect her to drive to the store with her baby.
You have 6 other people that could watch this baby.
And the crazy part about that, though, is that was the problem this whole time. That was
the whole time.
The initial issue that they were trying to solve was trying to get her here with her baby for some reason.
She added, it's like if you're trying to duct tape something back together, and you start like the base of it is the part that's broken,
right?
But you're wrapping a bunch of tape on the top,
yeah,
and then you're like, it's still broken.
Yeah, it's like. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Bye.
She said that she was not comfortable driving with her baby and she couldn't leave him with her mom as her mom had 3 other kids. Also, this was the first time that I was made aware that her 3 youngest siblings were in attendance as well. I know that I said that earlier in the story, but I had literally found out through her text canceling on me. Yikes. Another thing was that her brother Jorge had texted me asking the address of the dress shop. I didn't know the address and I was driving, so while I was at a red light, I let him know the road it was off of and that it would come up in a Google search. Her brother and I really get along, so I was not being rude to him in any way. He asked what the plan was, and I told him that I had no idea because I was not aware that they were coming until late last night. He apologized and said that they honestly weren't either and had no intention of intruding. I told him thank you and that there was no bad blood between me and him. I was just a little upset at the moment. He told me he completely understood. After the long text from Josie explaining that she was canceling on me, she sent a follow-up text to tell me that there was no reason for me to be passive-aggressive to her brother, as all he was doing was asking for the address. I'm sorry? What? Did the brother say this, or is Josie just reading the text? I still have not responded and don't think I'm going to. But I had Gwen purchase the maid of honor dress because she is not the maid of honor. And by the way, I hope you respond to this video by listening to more stories and episodes just like this one. Just go to Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, or whatever your favorite podcast app is and search OK Storytime. And there is a little bit more to the story, but
yeah, that's the end of that maid of honor.
Yeah.
She's not your maid of honor anymore.
Her brain isn't working right now.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and if she's the maid of honor, typically that comes with the job of like planning the the bridal shower or
Absolutely.
bachelorette party.
It's like, I can't trust you to plan a car ride.
Literally.
I'm
So-
not trusting you to plan anything else.
Yeah, because also too, if the problem is that she can't leave the baby with her mom, and so she can't drive, the brother Jorge is still there, so maybe he could drive.
5 other people could have taken care of this baby.
This is so insane.
Yeah.
So insane. I don't know if I'm being petty or bridezilla, but it feels like Josie was lying about the car situation from the start, and she can't even show up for me for one day. She's been extremely rude to me for a while, including telling me that I was being a witch, expecting her to drive with her own kid. The way I look at it is that I did not choose to have a kid, so her child should not be our responsibility to figure out. I've been a doormat most of my life, but I'm just not doing it for my wedding. I tried to work with her on finding a way out there, and she did in fact find a way, but she expected me to find a solution for her to make a 10-minute drive to the store because she went to the mall first. I'm so sorry if the story is confusing. I'm just trying to get all the details in there, but there's just so much that happened. So anyways, am I the a-hole, and what do we think about that? No, that story...
I'm just confused.
Yeah, it's confusing because of Josie's logic,
Yes.
but not because of what you, like, how you explain things.
No, yeah. To be clear, I understand everything that happened in the story. I just
Right.
don't understand why it happened.
Exactly. There are so many solutions and so many problems that were created for no reason,
Yeah,
but we could still find solutions within those problems.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But
It's
I'm
just insane.
sometimes we have to learn the hard way of how to not be a doormat, and I'm glad that you're learning.
You're learning it on the fly. Good
You're
job.
learning. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Man, oh man.
My sister ruined our family because we didn't worship her boyfriend.
Is he God?
We have a trigger warning for mentions of abuse. For background, my immediate family has always been very close. My sisters and I have had ups and downs, but we stayed close into adulthood. When I got married 5 years ago, my youngest sister was literally my best person, and she made a huge deal about how impressed she was that I had found someone who meshed so well with myself and our families. By the way, this comes from Smooth Pension 7147. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. I'm Carly.
I'm Sophia.
And I'm Keon.
And we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we do. So let us know what you would do in the comments. Fast forward to a year later, and my youngest sister is dating a guy who was a bit of a surprise to everyone. My first real interaction with him wasn't super positive. My sister was offered a paid graduate position, and his first response was, "We'd need to talk about if that makes sense for you." She ended up not going because I can't start a life if I'm in classes. We got into an argument about it because she's in a technical field, and the program was pretty exclusive. Her entire reasoning for not going was that her boyfriend didn't want to wait that long to start a life, and had convinced her going into industry early would make her more money long term than an extra degree. After that, I wasn't really enamored with the guy, but he's her significant other, and I figured she'd get bored of him. They moved in together after a year and seemed to have fallen into a holding pattern.
I was gonna say, I hope he's like, yeah, just figured they get bored of, him. She's already deciding to like give up,
do her whole life around
what
this
she
man.
wanted. Also, to be clear, if it wasn't, you don't have to go to school to like be successful. But in
Yeah.
this case, she wanted to go to college and is giving that up for boy.
Legitimately, he never talked to me if he could help it and would make excuses to skip things. 2 years ago, my youngest sister asked me if they should get married, and wanting to be supportive, I told her if it made her happy, she should. She talked with her boyfriend about it, and he was lukewarm on the idea. She called me every other night for weeks to fret about it while he was at the gym. Because he wasn't really a planner, she decided to plan a big trip to Europe to give him the opportunity to propose. When she got home, she literally called me crying to tell me that despite all their conversations, he hadn't proposed and they had gotten into an argument. After the argument, he agreed that he would propose.
No.
And she asked myself and our other sister to help him with the engagement plan. For the first time in 4 years, I talked with the soon-to-be fiance without my younger sister present. I was on the call with our middle sister and my wife, and we asked him what he wanted to do. In the course of a half hour, he let us know he didn't want to do anything special because it would set the bar too high for stuff later. He just wanted to get it over with. And he thought special would be going to the beach. My youngest sister hates the beach, and he didn't understand why she'd want to do that family crap the next day to celebrate. I actually texted my middle sister during the conversation asking if I was being crazy or if he sounded like he didn't want to get engaged. I told him not to worry about anything fancy, just make sure she feels special. He literally ended the call with, "Sure." Here is where I admit I effed up. I was really irritated by him during the call and I didn't want to say something mean, so I asked my middle sister to take over. She's always been more of the peacemaker, and my wife and I had our own things to do. We were trying for a kid at the time. I absolutely should have tried to re-engage him, but he really got under my skin with the language he used. I debated telling her, but I didn't want to sit her down and tell her that he was a bit of a wiener the whole time.
Do that. I don't understand why
exactly
OP's not
that.
doing that. Again, it's not OP's not like an a-hole or anything. But I do think that if you have these concerns and your sister has said that she wants your advice, give it.
My middle sister stepped up, helping him location scout, come up with something to say, and pick a place to celebrate after the proposal. During a scouting lunch, he literally told my middle sister, "Your brother's an a-hole," when she mentioned I could lend him a camera. When she asked why, he made a big deal about how I expected too much from people and made my sister miserable by making her think she should have more in life. Middle sister lost her cool and said he doesn't really like you either. After that meeting, my middle sister told me he had gotten heated and said he didn't like me. I let it go since I didn't really care for him either, figuring he was stressed about the proposal. For the next 4 months, this guy would not give me the time of day. He came to a party at my house and literally sat on his phone at the table during dinner for 3 hours without looking up even to talk, despite me trying with him since I knew the engagement was coming up. While this was happening, my youngest sister reached out to complain that her boyfriend never planned anything.
Yeah.
And that she'd know it was the engagement since he never wanted to go out. That week, they apparently had a fight and he planned an event to prove he was working on things. As a spoiler, it was the engagement, exactly as my middle sister helped him plan. His big change was switching the venue so he wouldn't need to dress up at all. The day of the engagement, my wife and I got the news that morning that we were going to have a kid. We went to the exhibit with them, running a bit late, but otherwise having a nice time. The boyfriend literally did not speak to me or my family the entire time, and my middle sister was having a rough day. A friend had a family member pass. So we stepped up to be as energetic as we could. The engagement went well with a cute speech on a pier, and we went out to dinner with both families after. My wife and I were a little lovey-dovey, and overall, I thought it went fine. That evening, we parted ways, and I figured it was all good. The next evening, I got a 5-page text from my sister telling me she hated me and wanted me out of her life. Apparently, I wasn't happy enough at her engagement, and I had bullied her boyfriend so badly that he just wanted to get it over with, and he didn't want to do such complex stuff, and he knows you hate him. My middle sister got one too for being a general witch at the engagement. Apparently, that evening, they went home, and she asked him what he had personally planned to do, and he broke down. I immediately sent an apology and explained that I didn't mean for him to feel that way and that I was confused he had decided I didn't like him since I'd never really talked to him. She proceeded to be, frankly, really cruel, dragging up crap just to be mean and telling us we ruined what was supposed to be the most special day of her life. This went on for a few weeks, but eventually we made up and she cooled off. She told us her now fiance would need time to cool off, but felt like it was water under the bridge. A few weeks later, she asked us to both be in her party. At this point, I was really trying to be nice to him and be as supportive as possible. My wife and I were also dealing with first trimester issues and some extra scans our doctors wanted. We delayed telling people because we didn't want to steal the spotlight from her engagement. Fast forward about 6 months, and my sister picked a fight with me about an uncle coming to the wedding. She basically said, I'm not paying for him to come and get wasted, and I barely know him. I reminded her that my mom's brother is dry since he was a heavy drinker, and that it would hurt our mother for her to make that decision. I reminded her that she literally invited 3 people for the gifts, and that while it was her decision, it was a bad one that would cause issues. She blew up at me. I told her I wasn't arguing about it, but my mom would be hurt. A month or 2 later, and it's the week of your wife's due date, my sister sat us down to complain that she didn't feel special enough, and that us having a child was taking away the joy she should be getting from everyone because it wasn't about her.
Get over it. You need to have a frank discussion with your sister where you just
Yeah.
say, get over it.
We talked for like 3 hours, and it turned out that her boyfriend still hadn't forgiven us for the bullying and extreme pressure we put him under. So I apologized to his face in front of her. A few weeks after that, my kid was born, and despite a lot of prep, my wife ended up with a pretty unpleasant birth. Multiple units of extra blood were needed, and we spent a month in the NICU. The baby is all right now, but it was probably the most exhausting and terrifying few weeks of our lives. My middle sister called me pretty much every day, but my youngest sister barely reached out. She did make soup and send it with my mom, which I appreciated. I won't pretend I was giving people regular updates during that time, since my wife and I were spending our time either next to a bassinet or crashing in a crappy hotel next to the hospital. We got home a little before Christmas, and we had a few family members over in January to meet the baby. My youngest sister came by herself and seemed to be getting along with everyone. I knew she was still mad that I had told her she couldn't be mean to our mother and not expect consequences, but I was hoping we could move past it. 2 weeks after that, she called myself, my middle sister, and my wife separately to fire us from her wedding. She literally went off about how we don't like the fiance enough, and he would be uncomfortable with us supporting her if we didn't also support him the same way. She said a lot of nasty stuff, particularly weird personal attacks about my wife and my income and lifestyle. She kept going off on how we had no right to even be up there since we were just pretentious and always looking down on them. And here's where I effed up. I literally said, I guess I'll go to the next one. It was mean and frankly uncalled for, but I was tired, still stressed out. My kid was safe to be home, but needed extra care. And frankly, grossed out that she was her siblings out because we didn't like her future spouse. I apologized for it in the call, but I regret saying it rather than just listening. I was so sick of the stupid drama, and it was so clear to me that she was deeply unhappy and blaming all of us for that. I have been myself over this for months now. I know I shouldn't have said it, but after all the things my sister told me were important to her, and all the BS he did, I really don't think they'll be together very long. Since the engagement, she's been all kinds of bitter. I honestly thought that after the dust settled, she'd realize who her boyfriend was. What I wasn't expecting is that she does see it and thinks that if she just makes the environment perfect for him, he will be the person she wants him to be. That was the last time we spoke, and things have just gotten worse. The day my parents paid off the venue for her, she kicked my father out of the wedding because he didn't like her future spouse enough.
Yeah, no one likes your spouse. Your spouse
Yeah.
doesn't like you, and this is not gonna work.
Honestly, though, like, for sure, she's, like, bitter and stuff, but this girl's just mean, too. Like,
Yeah.
this youngest sister, like, I'm like, you're waiting till they pay off the wedding, and then you're just being like, okay, bye.
Exactly.
Thanks,
No, she's an
bye.
a-hole.
She sat down with my mother when my mother pushed back and told her she should get a divorce from my father because she thinks their relationship is toxic. A few weeks later, she kicked my mother out of the wedding because my mother pushed back on uninviting my father. She bought a house and didn't tell my parents because they should have asked if they wanted to know. It's all messed up. Right now, only his side of the family is really going, with most of my family bowing out or uninvited. Those that are going have talked with her about the choices she's made, and they are all concerned about how she's talking. My aunt literally said that it sounded like she was a different person. The wedding is in a few weeks, and I feel terrible. I can tell she's in a lot of pain still based on what people are telling me. We have some mutual friends, but I don't think there's anything I can do now that will help. So I've just been reaching out every few weeks, offering to talk if she needed someone to speak to. By the way, you can come speak with us by listening to full episodes of stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, search up OK Storytime. I guess I have to ask, Does this stuff get better after the wedding? I don't have a ton of experience with drama at this level, and none of my friends went off the deep end so aggressively when it came to their own weddings. I'd love some advice on how I can make it up to her or improve things, but I really don't know how to go about it. It's been a few years of this
Dang,
now,
wow.
and I've been trying to figure out how I could have done a better job or what I should do for my sister who is getting married in a month. I am definitely the a-hole here, but I'd love some advice on how to proceed. Some comments. Commenter 1. Truthfully, although your sister is acting horribly, this sounds like her boyfriend is making her pull away from family. This is a all you can do is continue to be there for her in whatever capacity she will allow. He will eventually try to cut her off completely from her family and the rest of the world. There are some truly mucked up people out there. I hope she has a job outside the home so she will be allowed to go into the world and not literally be locked in her house. He could and will take her phone, monitor her phone calls, and never give her a moment to herself. I can possibly see why she kicked you and your sister out. I don't agree. But mom and dad for paying and letting feelings be known is a huge red flag. I wish you could stop this train wreck, but the only thing you can do is be there when she reaches out for help. Good luck. And OP says, I totally get that. Honestly, up until she kicked my mom out, we thought she was just having a bad time and that we'd find a way to make it up to her and smooth it out before the wedding. Oh my god, that's the end.
Good luck, OP. I
luck.
don't have much hope for you in
No.
trying to figure this
I mean,
relationship out.
If the sister does realize that
Yeah.
it could be like the
Yes.
very controlling partner and she does come back,
But it would
say,
have to be her realization,
Right.
not anything on your end.